We are live, David.
That damn time.
Is there any sound coming through these headphones?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this Tuesday, the final one of the month? Thanks for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, the ever-expanding Florida Sports Network.
You were fumbling, stumbling, and bumbling there to start that show, David.
So, we do this Miller and Moulton live on Twitch thing, and we got these little cameras. We each have our own camera. And mine was just a little low. It was kind of cutting off the top part of my head. And as we've talked about over the years, it's a big melon with a huge forehead. I mean, like the two Dakotas together on the map.
It's definitely a Dakota.
Two of them, both of them.
You've got like all of South and half of North for sure.
Oh, no, I think it's both Dakotas, and we're debating whether or not we're throwing in a Nebraska. No. I mean, it's a lot of forehead. And so I was just like, listen, and you know me, all the years in local TV, the shot's got to be framed right, and it's got to be in focus. And, I mean, the product could be terrible, but we at least got it right.
Got to look good here.
Right,
come on
the shot up right. So that's all. Yeah, I was fumbling, bumbling, stumbling there at the beginning of the show.
Because a little behind the scenes, it cracks me up is David is always ready for us to go live. It doesn't matter. About 6:54. When are you going live?
Live. Are we live?
Are we live yet?
Right.
And so as we go live, he starts messing with the camera, which he could have done, all morning as we sat here in BS.
Mark's looking at me like, this would have been good when we were like on standby.
We're not live.
Right.
But that's all right. That's all right.
Top of the morning to you.
A lot can happen in 10, 15 seconds, David.
Yes. Careers have been ruined in 10 to 15 seconds. There was no question about it. So, our poll question yesterday was very much the topic du jour. If not A, it was B nationally. It was the NFL overtime rules. And so, listen, we didn't want to get bogged down in negativity after the best weekend in the history of the NFL playoffs. We wanted to embrace the four games and what they all gave us. But we just threw out the poll question. Hey, NFL overtime, would you change it so that each team gets the ball once, or would you keep it as is? And there's still a little bit of time to vote because we got to it a little later in our show than normal. And 70% of you are like, we got to change this. Okay. What have you and I for 15 plus years always said? Okay. What?
Oh, to what? Yeah. And I did get one answer from someone. like, I hate this. Okay, what do you propose?
Right.
And theirs was very much like the college, hokey pokey. At some point, we're doing 2-point conversions. And I'd throw up if I watched that game end on 2-point conversions.
Right. You and I, being hockey fans that we are, still go back to the first time that they settled the gold medal in 94 with a shootout.
Right.
Peter Forsberg against Corey Hirsch, and they made it into a stamp. And we just looked at one another and said, seriously? They're going to determine the gold medal on shootout? Like we've always thought in soccer. I mean, are you really going to determine the World Cup on penalty kicks? And apparently the answer is yes.
And the world's comfortable with that.
Right.
We're not.
No.
Because it bastardized the game.
The beautiful game.
Any game that you want to end that way. A beautiful game or an ugly game. But it seems that everybody wants both teams to get the ball.
Right.
Okay. They both score, then what? Now are we playing sudden death? And are you going to be happy then? It doesn't seem like we're going to have an instance. To me, the only way to do it is if you are hell-bent on both teams getting it, to not have a clear advantage, because we both believe the second team, if someone scores, has a clear advantage knowing what they have to do.
But I mean, I don't know if it's an advantage because they're trailing, but if the first team is going by, we really only have 3 downs, it's a big risk on fourth. The second team's going by, well, I got 4 downs, there's no risk on fourth. I have to do this.
Right. I would propose, even though I'm fine with the way overtime is, I would propose going to a full 15-minute quarter.
Bingo. And you and I did not talk about this before the show, but
I'd go to basketball. You're playing for 15 minutes. And when that's over, if it's tied, then we'll put another 15 minutes up.
NBA basketball is a 5-minute overtime. And if it's tied, then we'll do another.
And I have no problem.
We'll do another.
I have no problem since they've lowered the time and overtime to 10 minutes to doing a 10-minute quarter.
So like they do in regular season.
Yeah, 10-minute quarter. And you play the whole thing. It's not sudden death. You play the whole thing. If it's still tied at 10 minutes, we're going to play another 10 minutes.
Let me ask you this. Let's just say in 10 minutes, both teams score, and the team who had the ball first has possession of the ball at the end of the 10-minute overtime. Does it roll over?
I think it would have to roll over.
So
if I'm playing 10 more minutes, if it's not going to sudden death in the 6th quarter, if you will.
Right.
Because that would be my only other, if someone said, hey, we can't let this go on forever after a 5th quarter, we go to sudden death. Okay, you want to do that, fine. But if in my world, it wouldn't be sudden death, so it would just roll over to another 10 minutes. They would continue on with the ball.
All right.
Again, I'm fine with what they're doing. I mean, did you see how fast they had to get that to NCIS after the Bills-Chiefs game? I don't know if CBS would want another 20, 30 minutes of that.
Oh, they would.
I'm joking. But after one of the best football games most people have ever watched, you've got these announcers who are chomping at the bit to talk about it. And they got 38 seconds before they could send it to NCIS.
Right. We got to get it back to the studio just so that Jeep can be seen. Okay. The sponsor's been taken care of. We're good. Can we toss it to network now?
At some point, I'll get Mr. Kirwan at a hockey game and I'll find out. Now, there's a good chance that all 4 people in the studio are like, I need to catch a flight. I want to get out of here. Get me home.
Well, Phil and Boomer live in the area, and at that hour, the other guys were planning on staying over anyway. So the only person who really needed to catch a flight was probably Pat. But I do think that we need to add the time component. And if the team who gets the ball first, and you and I feel it should be the home team.
Yes.
That's part of home field advantage. That if you go to overtime, that the home team gets to decide. Do they want the ball, or if the weather happens to be outrageous, do they feel they'll be better served by actually letting the visitors have the ball? We think in 99% of playoff overtime, the home team would take the ball. Then we need to put a time component on it. And if they can eat up the whole 10 minutes on their only drive. Oh, well, you had 10 minutes on defense to stop them. Don't know what to tell you.
Because in a 10-minute overtime, that would be a part of taking the ball. You think you could go on a little longer drive. You might be able to put them in a clock situation as well.
Well, like the Bills were trying to do. I mean, when they're trailing by 4 or 5, was it? I think it was 26-21. When they began that 17-play drive, you could tell they got the ball with a little less than 9 minutes to go. And they were trying to not give the ball back to Mahomes until there was maybe, 13 seconds left. Too soon?
When special teams and defense should be able to get this sucker into the barn.
Right. Too soon?
No.
Okay.
No. It's
but they were
because David, the anger's coming.
Yeah.
Bills fan yesterday, I was with one for a little bit of time, and the shock and awe is left. Anger has set in, and it will be there.
It should be
for the whole week.
Oh, it should be.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I made the analogy yesterday that I think the Bills are the 03 Red Sox, that they are beginning something here. That they are going to chase this sucker down, and they are going to get it done.
I tried to use your analogy. In fact, I used your analogy to the Bills fan.
Yeah.
They kind of looked at me and nodded, patted me on the head, and told me to go away.
Right. Not today.
They were not ready for
no,
that.
I understand.
No, and that's on me. That's
too soon.
Too soon.
Right. Should have held that one in your back pocket. I'll tell you what, they're numb right now. You might be able to throw it at that Bills fan in about 4 weeks.
I don't even think he heard me.
No, I don't even know if he saw you. I mean, it's just eyes
told me
over.
At 35 texts. And what really bothered him is that when they scored, he's getting texts that, before it's over. And superstition, Bills fan, doesn't want any text before game's over.
I know it was 13 seconds. Though. I mean, you got to cut your friends a little bit of slack if they thought with 13 seconds left that the game was over. Like I said to you yesterday, me, who never thinks the game is over, was so convinced the game was over that I couldn't understand why they were kicking the extra point. I thought this was Kansas City's best chance to get out of here was to block the extra point, return it for 2, and have it be tied and go to overtime. I'm yelling at the TV. Just take a knee. Run Josh Allen. Doesn't matter if it's 2 or 4. Game's over. That would have been something, by the way. They took a knee and lost. That would have been something. See, I think that's when you just go to the podium and go, you can say whatever you want. It was 13 damn seconds. All right, it's 13 damn seconds.
And I think that's what we're going to get a lot more of today, is that yesterday we spoke of the greatness.
Right.
Today there's going to be a lot of nitpicking. The Bucs first half. The Bucs first 3 quarters, for that matter. And the last 13 seconds of the Buffalo football season.
Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of January. Thanks so much for being with us on the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Poker game. To be honest, I do. I think that this is high
Between
stakes.
Troy and everybody?
I think that this is high stakes poker.
Between Troy, Fox, and Amazon, or
Yeah.
and then whoever else
Yeah.
is in the game, if you know what I mean.
I think it's high stakes poker. A game of which I am not, everybody thinks, just because I stand next to Aikman for 4 hours every Sunday and for the last couple of years on Thursday doesn't mean, we get along well, but does anybody think Troy's talking to me about his negotiations?
I don't think Troy's talking to anybody about his negotiations.
No, he's not.
I mean, he seems like a really tight-lipped human being anyhow. Yeah,
plus he's a businessman. I mean, he's made 9 figures off the court, off the field. I mean, this is not something he's not used to. I mean, he's used to business dealings. He spent 2 years working on that beer, which wasn't bad, by the way. He brought some to the game, and we had it after the game.
Well, I kind of figured he's going for his low calorie. I mean, he's all into the low carb thing.
It's only going to be in Texas for at least the first year, and then if it does okay, he'll. But I guess he's in the #1 department store that you need to be in.
Paul, I never did ask Jake. I've barely talked to him in the last 4 or 5 days. He's been busy. But I will circle back on that now.
Spitz, you talking about Capaccio?
Yeah.
He's going to be on our show in 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's Spitz's buddy. He knows him, apparently. Oh, we did get a follow yesterday. That's what I'm talking about.
That's all. That's all Mark Miller cares about, ladies and gentlemen. Are we getting followers? Can we get to 1,000?
I want to get this damn affiliate thing.
This damn affiliate.
Well, where you're a Twitch affiliate, you start making a little more cabbage if you're an affiliate, which is you got to average 75 viewers.
Right.
Which we are like eerily close to.
Mark, what's the number of the zone again? 1070?
1070 the zone.
1070 the zone. In North Dakota, the first sports radio station I was on was 1550 the fan.
God, that cannot wait. End of this week, we get that bad day off, David. That when I left it on for 24 hours.
Oh, yeah. Good. The 13 seconds, because the Music City Miracle was a wild card round. And no offense, that team was quarterbacked by Rob Johnson. That team was not going on a run. Even though the Tennessee team that pulled it off did, that Bills team, they were not going on a run. We all think that when Kansas City and Buffalo were playing, that the winner's at least going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Adam, it's the second worst loss in franchise history.
Right.
It is.
Only Super Bowl 25, wide right. It's the only one that's worse.
And that's literally talking to a Buffalo fan yesterday who's a sports nut.
But getting back to that Red Sox comparison, remember they fired Grady Little. I mean, I'm telling you, the final 13 seconds is a fireable offense.
Yes.
It really is. Whether you want to go to the defensive coordinator or the head coach. No, it's not going to happen, but it is a fireable offense.
$15 seconds.
Well, Steve, the problem, there might be more Niners fans in Los Angeles than Rams fans.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"19 minutes past the hour on this final Tuesday in January. Miller and Moulton on the ever-growing Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. We got a good show lined up for you. Sal Capaccio next hour. We'll go to Buffalo. Ooh, we will tread lightly, though. We will tread lightly.
Maybe.
No, I think we should.
No, I don't want to tread lightly because I want Sal to not get angry at us. I want to hear it.
But I think if we go with the soft approach, we will pull it out of them.
All right.
Just, you want to be inviting. No, I want you to talk. I'll just listen if you don't mind. That sort of approach.
I do want to get to, though, the things you were asking yesterday. At what point does McDermott need to answer? And will there be another presser where people can get into him a little bit more other than it's on me?
Well, and I want to talk to Sal because I have no idea if McDermott or Frazier did media yesterday. Like a lot of teams the day after. The Packers did media. The Bucs did media. I'm guessing the Bills did some kind of media yesterday. And I want to know what they said. I was not satisfied. If I was a Bills fan, just as a fan, I was not satisfied with McDermott postgame, but I was really not satisfied with the media. It's called a follow-up question for a reason. Very rarely does somebody just at first question just spill their guts, take all responsibility, etc. They usually try to just give you 17 words. You think you got an answer. You go back, you listen to it. He really didn't say anything. They all try to Derek Jeter you. You need to ask a follow-up question.
And sometimes you need to have, and it's why I'm sure the player doesn't like it, but as we talked about yesterday, Aaron Rodgers got 4 or 5 questions in which he buried himself in the offense and took all the blame. And then finally the retirement questions happened and he answered how he answered. But
Right.
that's the only snippet we get. There were more questions. There was more Q&A going on than that. And they dug at him a little bit, I think, to get there.
Rodgers actually let his guard down. Tom Brady said, hey, season just ended. I've been through this before. Family, I need some time. I haven't thought about it right now. Now, we all think he's thought about it. If you're talking about it, you've thought about it. But Rodgers he just laid it out there for the most part. He answered the questions. He answered them seemingly honestly, but certainly thoroughly.
Yes. Sounded sincere. Don't know if it was sincere, but you're right. It was very thorough in what he had said.
Obviously none of us know him, but he does sound this year, and he did say this in a recent interview, he does sound this year as if he just doesn't give a blank anymore. He's at the point in his life or career where he's just like, you know what? I'm going to say what I say. I'm going to do what I do. I'm comfortable with myself. If you're not comfortable with me, I really don't care.
And I think a lot of that actually has been because of Brady coming to Tampa. I think Brady, the social media Brady, the Brady doing the radio show, I think he's let it out there. And they're contemporaries.
Yeah.
And you can't look from the side and go, he's getting more popular by talking and being more honest and showing a little bit more of himself.
And he did his weekly podcast / show yesterday with Jim Gray, and it airs on a couple of SiriusXM channels, and then it's available for you, to download. And he openly talked about, the defeat and where he goes from here. And he said in some ways, it's what I've been doing for the last 5 or so years, taking inventory. But obviously, we're nearing the end here. So it's a little different. He said, the kids are older. I feel as if I'm asking more of my family than maybe I was earlier. And I thought it was interesting. He said, it's not the winning, it's the competing. Like he said, I was proud of yesterday. We competed. I was proud to participate yesterday. The competition is the drug, if you will.
Well, and he said it in his postgame when he said, yeah, it's hard. Winning's hard too.
Right.
That's the first thing he put right back in everybody. He said, winning's hard too.
Spitz in our Twitch chat room makes a good point. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has a weekly bit on the Pat McAfee show, and it's on Tuesdays.
Right, and that's when he's most honest.
Right. And so it's, 1, 2 o'clock today on the Pat McAfee show. It would probably be pretty good radio, is my guess.
But as the late, great Jimmy Dugan said, if it was hard, if it wasn't hard, everybody do it, David.
Thank you, Mark. You can text the show if you never have before. It's all one word, FSN Radio. FSN Radio. Send it to 21,000, and we'll get it. And there it is, done. You're in. Then you can just, text to your heart's content. Why don't you watch us, follow us, subscribe to the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel? One, it would make my co-host just happy as the, you know what.
Dig in.
Because apparently we have to get to 1,000 followers by July 4th, or his life is just not going to be complete.
I think that's a really well put sentence, David. Thank you for that.
I mean, if we examine it, I think there's something really wrong there. I think it's a cry for help, but that's okay. So please, this is a bet I would love to lose.
Follow me.
I'm not going to, but this is a bet that I would love to lose. Follow us, subscribe to us, the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, and then you get to chime in the Twitch chat room. You get to argue amongst each other, and then you get to yell at us. Nothing wrong with that, especially early in the morning. You get things off your chest before you go to work.
And you got the text out, David, like this person who did text the show this morning. There's an obvious solution to people who don't like the OT rules. Win the game in regulation.
Well, there you go. There you go. 13 seconds. 13 seconds. I tell you what, because obviously we can go a lot of different ways, with a poll question. And I don't know if we want to double down on this particular game. How about if we ask people, all right, squib kick or kick it deep? Because I think I'm in the minority. Most people wanted to squib it. What's interesting is a few NFL kickers, media actually doing their job and reached out to some kickers and said, hey, what do you think was the right play here? And there were a couple of them that said, if my coach told me to squib it, I probably would have gotten into an argument with him. Going, I don't think this is the right play. Something can go wrong here. I'm just letting you know. Something can go wrong here. This is not as easy as you think. One, to keep it in the field of play. Two, it could hit somebody in the front. Three, it could easily be fielded on a big hop at about the 20 with a full head of steam, and something really bad can happen. So I thought it was interesting. Most media and most fans, Mark, seem to be in the you got to squid this and take the 3-4 seconds off the clock. The 2 or 3 kickers that I've seen quoted were all like, no, you pound that sucker through the end zone. It's 13 seconds. Yeah, I'll do my job. The other guys do theirs.
You do yours.
Yeah. Come on now. We should be able to.
I didn't hear it. I don't know how much they elaborated. I do want to ask this. Was the fact that it was Kansas City, that it was cold? I mean, do those, because you see squibs all the time.
Yeah.
Was any part of it the weather factor, that a cold weather game, they don't want to do it as much? I mean, it wasn't that cold either. So I'm trying to figure out.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I will say, if the game were in Green Bay, in which from mid-third quarter on, there was a light snow that was falling, the field was actually pretty slick. And you couldn't get the ball to the end zone.
Right.
As it was, all the kicks were being returned. Then I think you squib it. I would have argued let's squib this sucker.
And I think the bigger discussion that you and I were starting to have before the show is, as you mentioned yesterday on our show, why are you rushing anybody? And at what point are coordinators going to have an end of game type plan where maybe it's 2 or 3 rushers and you're doing things really differently from a defensive schematic standpoint, that you're lining up guys where they normally aren't lined up and you're jamming every receiver and you're physically trying to slow them down in a different way.
I mean, think about what has already transpired just in the playoffs in the final 15 seconds of a couple games. You could extend it out just a little bit further, the end of the Tennessee-Cincinnati game. A team who's trying to slow play it so that in the worst case, they go to overtime and end up turning it over with a little over 20 seconds to go. That they slow played it so much and they hamstrung their offense so much that they actually put themselves in a vulnerable position. And sure enough, the worst thing happened. I mean, you could certainly do a seminar just off of the closing 30 seconds of the playoff games that we've already have. The obvious ending in Dallas, the obvious ending in Kansas City. I mean, Tampa Bay for that matter, revisit whether or not you go with a zero blitz and also where it was coming from. To me, it came from so far away that guy wasn't going to get to Stafford.
No, it was Sue who hit Stafford after he threw the ball, I believe.
Right. Like, to me, if you're coming on that play, come right up the middle. Send the linebackers. Don't send a DB. Send the linebackers. But, it's why we love it. It's why we love it. It seems easy. It's really easy from the couch.
And Monday and Tuesday, it's even easier.
Absolutely. No one's ever wrong on a Monday or a Tuesday. The starting 5 is next. Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I think the thing I like the most about the Red Sox analogy was the Yankees part of it. Yeah, the Yankees were stacked, and so are the Chiefs.
Right, but the Yankees' run was ending. Kind of like the Chiefs' run here doesn't have a lot of gas left in it.
It's lingering.
The Yankees had to retool after 2004 when the Red Sox finally caught them and passed them. The Yankees spent a couple years retooling.
Right.
And had to go spend a ton of money before 2009 to really get back to what they were.
5 years, that's all it took.
Well, I mean, they were still winning and
making the playoffs.
Yeah, all but 1 year there they made the playoffs, but they were not what they were, which is probably going to be the case with the Chiefs. I mean, it's tough to imagine that they're going to get bad with Mahomes. But like Kelsey's 33? I mean,
that sounds right, yeah.
He's a marvel.
I did not know that they killed Mr. Big on Sex and the City on a Peloton.
Yes.
And that Wags had a heart attack on a Peloton on Billions.
I thought I heard somebody say that Peloton actually paid for it.
No, I'm reading TMZ right now where Peloton's like, no, we didn't.
Okay.
More damage control thanks to TV. Our bikes are not lethal. They had to put out a tweet. I mean, basically responding to it. How can you have this show without Axe?
I'm totally with you.
I didn't like that character that he was taking on anyhow.
No.
I mean, I just didn't like the character. I don't like his foil as a character, but the acting's terrific.
Yes.
I don't like the guy, but I love the character, if you know what I mean.
Okay, music, that's a good point. It's why we have the starting 5. By the way, David Sampson along with Seth Everett tomorrow. There will be some baseball talk tomorrow.
With David Sampson.
Right, because Seth doesn't really talk baseball anymore.
Oh, wow, that's a cool shot. I've never seen that before, the university. I didn't realize the water ran right behind the softball field and baseball field there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't hang out on campus. They've just got FGCU just put a shot out. It says "Good morning, Eagles," and it's from behind, like the right field, way behind the right field wall. Pretty nice shot.
Look, I'm going to say this. I really don't like that Miramar Lakes engulfs the campus of FGCU. Because
Well,
as soon as the lake that they promote, as soon as you get a little too far, it is like code red, violation, get the hell out of there right now. That is Miramar Lakes. You are not allowed to be in here. And it's like,
you know what they're paying for homes in there?
yes, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
and here's the deal. They were there first. It's now, like you built the campus up over time and they built that, but they were there first. Along with the golf course across the street.
Well, when was Gulf Coast Town Center built?
Early 2000s,
I don't know the answer to that.
That seems about right.
mid 2000s, I think.
1 minute.
Oh my God, that's funny. Somebody snow blowing in a full pink unicorn outfit, pushing a snowblower.
$30 seconds. Have you ever played that golf course in Miramar Lakes?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's nice, isn't it?
it's all right.
It's okay.
It's pretty
It's
plain.
wide open.
Mm.
It's almost like a resort course.
Nice. All right, come back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
23 minutes before the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Sal Capaccio in an hour. We'll head to Buffalo where they are still hurting. Little more than an hour, we head to Tampa, Roy Cummings, where they're also hurting, and who knows what changes lie ahead with the Bucs. Pat Kirwan, 2 hours from now, we'll talk about the league at large. We need to come up with a poll question.
You're right, we do.
Think about that.
I'll do that.
Because now it's time for
The starting 5. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
well, we always start with the NFL. Lots of little things that could be not so little. Like Tom Brady saying, listen, I need time on this retirement thing. I just need to get away for a few weeks. I'm not going to rush it. I need to spend time with my family and just reflect and see where we go from here. I'm all in during football season. I ask a lot of my family, so just give me a little bit of time. Mark, I give the New Orleans Saints a lot of credit. Mrs. Benson, the owner, was asked, hey, are these Sean Payton stories true? And she said, yeah, we have no idea if he's coming back. I give her a lot of credit. I mean, that's how I think you should deal with your fan base. Tell them the truth. Hey, you ain't returning our calls either. Just
leave it to the female owner to just speak perfect honesty that 30 other owners would never do.
Right, or at least 28 of them. I mean, there's a couple who would answer the phone and always give an interview.
Yeah, but I don't know if Jared tells the truth in all his interviews.
Well, he thinks it's the truth.
It's his truth.
Right.
If you believe it, it's true. Right, George Costanza?
The Packers are publicly insisting that they want Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur yesterday said, hey, Aaron and I had a long talk. Not going to reveal the contents of that discussion. Of course, Aaron probably will today on the Pat McAfee show. But anyway, and LaFleur said, yeah, we want him. Mark, he's got 1 year left on his contract. It's about a $46 million cap hit, and they're already $45 million over the cap. It would seem to me as if they either need to extend him and reduce the cap hit,
right,
or trade him. I guess he could retire, but nobody thinks a 38-year-old who is likely to win a second straight MVP is walking away.
But I would be doing everything in my power to extend him. I'm so in agreement with the Packers head coach right now. It's the only answer I'd get. No, he's not leaving. It's my quarterback.
Of course, he's going to go to wherever he's going to go, and he's going to reflect. And when he gets back to them, he may say, yeah, I'm done. Along those lines, one of the 3 finalists for the Denver Broncos job is current Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, and Rodgers has been linked to Denver for a while now. The other 2 finalists are Dan Quinn and Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell.
I know you're another one that loves the Denver roster, but you're Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to pick, let's go play Mahomes twice and Herbert twice every year. That's where I want to go in a Vegas team that's not bad. It's the toughest division in football.
I agree. I don't think he's going there. I don't.
I wouldn't go there. He's been playing in Green Bay, where you basically are assured a division win every damn year.
Here's what I feel is going to happen. Rodgers is going to walk in and say, I'm done here. Trade me. And they're going to say, well, it ain't to the NFC. And he's going to be like, okay, fine. All right. And they're going to say, give us a list of your top 3 AFC destinations, and we'll do our best to send you there. But we are not going to shortchange what we're getting in return. Remember, you're the one breaking up with us. We do have to look out for the franchise going forward.
The Post had a top 5. It had the Miami Dolphins listed as number 2, David. I don't believe that for a second.
I don't either.
But the next 3 on their list, I believed in. It had Denver 1, it had Miami 2, and then I think it had some combination of Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and Cleveland. And those all make a hell of a lot more sense to me than Denver and Miami.
Well, the more I think about it, the more I think Indianapolis makes a lot of sense. It's a good team that, quite frankly, if I was Indianapolis, I'd add Aaron Rodgers and I'd spend the money and sign his wide receiver, Devontae. And I'd call it an offseason. And I think if I'm in Indianapolis, what the Rams are doing would maybe have to influence my thinking. What the Rams, all the assets they've given up, and it's working. And I've been paying attention to the AFC playoffs, and I've been watching Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and I'm thinking, yeah, we got to get ourselves one of them. Because this trying to do it with pea shooters is really hard. 49ers say that Deebo Samuel's fine. He'll play Sunday. Trent Williams, meanwhile, sprained ankle. He's 50-50. Remember, the Niners not only have won 6 straight against the Rams, they beat the Rams to get into the playoffs without Trent Williams. May have to do it again. We'll see. Rams are getting healthier. They're getting safety Taylor Rapp and left tackle Andrew Whitworth back for the NFC Championship. One other NFL note. Did you see what Joe Burrow had to say yesterday?
I missed that.
So he was asked about the crowd noise that you're going to face at Arrowhead. And he said, probably shouldn't say this, but it's louder in the SEC than it is in the NFL.
Damn right it is.
Hasn't he said that before?
Well, nobody was paying attention before.
And it's true.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
David, you do Saturdays and Sundays. What's the loudest Sunday place you've been?
Where he's going Sunday. Arrowhead.
Is it SEC loud? Louder? Same?
It's SEC loud. What's impressive about it is they're doing it with around 72,000. You know, Burrow's used to playing in these coliseums that hold 92 to 105,000. I mean, they do have 20 to 30,000 more people at these SEC games that he's playing in.
It just matters more, David. I don't know what to tell you.
I understand that, Mark. You know what they should do? They should slogan that. Today's a big day in Major League Baseball.
Damn right it is.
Wow, look at you. Are you being sincere?
100%.
Hey, come on now. When it's baseball, I never know if you're being sincere or whether or not you're
This is the
poking
last
the bear.
chance for this league to get this right. For these stupid ass writers who,
Well, the votes are in and they'll be revealed at 4:00 today. The Hall of Fame results. Kurt Schilling, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens in their last year on the ballot. The expectation is Bonds and Clemens will definitely not get the 75% vote total needed. Kurt Schilling got 70 to 71% last year. Everyone who's ever gotten that high a percent vote total has gotten the 75% necessary. The problem is that Schilling, after not getting in last year, publicly told the writers, I don't want you to vote me in. And some of them have clearly taken him up on it. So for those that are counting votes, you know, that there's 400 something voters and they poll them, they don't think Schilling's going to get in today. They do think David Ortiz is going to get in today. And in fact, Rob Manfred came out a few days ago and was asked about that anonymous 2003, testing, and Manfred flat out, he pulled a Paul Tagliabue basically. And he's like, listen, there's no there. Okay. This is not fair. This is not right. All right. If you're going to vote for David Ortiz, you vote him up, you vote him down. They should not enter into it at all. Which I thought was interesting. I've never heard a commissioner chime in
on the Hall.
He was asked about it, but he answered it.
Right.
Speaking of Rob Manfred, even though he was not at the meeting yesterday, his right-hand man was, and his executive counsel was, the Major League Baseball Players Association made a serious counteroffer to the owners yesterday, in which they relented on like two of their top four issues. The owners, while the two sides are not in agreement on the major things, but the owners took it seriously, so much so that they said, can we meet tomorrow? Which is, of course, today. So they're going to meet again today. It's about damn time.
Spring training's only 40 days away.
Well,
pitchers and catchers are supposed to report in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. They would have to come up with a deal in the next week to 10 days for pitchers and catchers to report close to on time and games to start pretty much on time. And no one on either side thinks that they're going to come to an agreement in the next 7 to 10 days. But let's be honest. It affects those of us in Florida and businesses and what have you, economic engine. It's a big deal.
It is a really big deal.
But does anybody think that spring training is an issue at all to these two sides when they're negotiating?
No.
Opening day is an issue.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and they will sacrifice everything in between now and then, unfortunately, at our expense.
And I'm telling you, it is baffling to me. Not baffling. It shows you where baseball is. For all of you that are sports fans, if you're out doing your thing today, you're doing sales, you're talking to people, Hey, spring training's coming. Just if you throw that at the office today, throw that at somebody. Yeah, I know, a couple weeks, can't wait. Nobody has a clue that there are not going to be spring training games because the front offices are selling tickets like we're going to have it. Even though if you go to their website, they can't have a picture of any player that's on their team.
NBA last night, Mark, 4 games, decided by a total of 13 points. Chicago beat Oklahoma City 111-110. Here's the kicker. The Bulls were a 1.5-point favorite. They're up 4, less than 2 seconds to go. Oklahoma City inbounds it. Big guy catches it, top of the key, 3, drills it. Talk about a bad beat or a great cover.
Great cover.
Cleveland held off the Knicks 95-93. The Pelicans beat Indiana 117-113, and the Phoenix Suns just keep on winning. 115-109 over Utah. College hoops last night. Kansas in a good one. Double OT at home. They beat Texas Tech by 3. USC beat Arizona State by 22. JU lost to Kennesaw State. Florida lost to Ole Miss. Bethune-Cookman lost. FAMU did win. The only Florida team to win yesterday. Not a single men's Division I game was canceled yesterday.
Might be the first time this year, David.
3 women's games were canceled, and FAMU on the women's side lost. Australian Open. Madison Keys is through to the semifinals.
We need a new phrase for her.
Oh, well, if I was her, I'd make a T-shirt of that phrase. This is working. 6-3, 6-2 or the 4th-ranked Krejcikova. Keys through to the semis. Jessica Pegula, the daughter of the owners of the Bills and Sabres, lost in straight sets to number 1 seed Ash Barty a moment ago. Danielle Collins tries to make it to the semis tonight. The American women could have 2 in the semifinals. Taylor Fritz lost in 5 sets in his quarterfinal matchup against the 4th seed Cespedes. Nadal, by the way, needed 5 sets. He was up 2 sets to love and had to hold off the 14th-ranked Canadian Shapovalov 6-3 in the 5th. NHL marked 7 games last night. The headliner, believe it or not, in Philadelphia, because Keith Yandel played in his 964th consecutive game. This is the Ripken streak in hockey. He tied Doug Jarvis for the longest consecutive games played streak in league history. He will break it tonight on Long Island when the Flyers play the Islanders. The Flyers, by the way, lost 3-1. They're 0-8-4 in their last 12, having a disastrous season. This is their second 10-game losing streak of the season. That's really difficult to do. All right. One other note, though. Yandel was with the Panthers last year. And around this time, Joel Quenneville, the coach at the time, wanted to pull him from the lineup. He's a bit of a defensive liability at this stage of his career. He's an offensive defenseman, and Quenneville wanted to scratch him. And the vets on the team caught wind of it and basically went to Quenneville and said, Coach, you can't do this. Okay, if this streak's going to be broken, he needs to get hurt. Okay, we'll get on him. You know, you ask him to play harder or whatever, reduce his minutes. You cannot bench him. And Quenneville acquiesced to the leadership on the team. And now Yandel's going to break the record. Boston lost to Anaheim 5-3. Rangers beat the Kings in a shootout.
And Kreider there with his 30th becomes like the first Ranger to lead the league to 30 goals since like the 40s.
Right.
Wild stat that I saw this morning on that.
Calgary beat St. Louis 7-1. Minnesota 8-2 over Montreal. Vegas shut out Washington 1-0. And the Avs shut out the Blackhawks 2-0. They've won 16 in a row at home. They're 12-0-1 in their last 13. They have not lost in 2022 so far. And that, gentlemen,
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Sal Capaccio from Buffalo to join us coming up in a little over half an hour. We're going to talk a little football today, if that's okay with you.
I kind of figured.
You good with that?
I'm right on board.
It's a month that ends in Y. It's a day that ends in Y. So we're going to go with football if that's okay with you.
That pretty much works on this show. We will head to Buffalo next hour to hear from the Bills. It's Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan still ahead in the 8 o'clock hour. Thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. For a little fun. I broke down, for the record, Paul. I broke down and turned the heat on yesterday. It was 69 in my house. Your camera's cutting off the top of your head again.
Do you want to just say Green Bay or somewhere in the AFC? Or do you want to get specific?
I was thinking to get specific, but I think it just adds more answers if you get specific. That would be my only. It does. And you know what? We can do that. We can just say AFC, Green Bay, AFC, retire.
Yeah. $65 in the house, Guillermo? Really? And Paul, they don't. They don't see the value in spring training. The players certainly don't. The players don't get paid for it. And the players, almost all of them, were working out year round. And my guess is the players will compensate for lack of a spring training by wanting some sort of roster adjustment at the beginning of the year, where it's 27, 28, 30, something like that, mostly for the pitchers. But Paul, you're definitely right about, there are so many fans from the North, especially. We've joked that spring training is not for the people who live in Florida and Arizona, although some have relocated here because of spring training.
Well, and that's what I will tell you. Now that I've got this little real estate license, trust me, when I said to the lady in our office that there's not going to be spring training, she just looked at me and she goes, well, that's great for traffic, but that really sucks. That's
Right.
a lot of business opportunities.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Okay, this might be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask anyway. All you do is sell houses. You don't sell rent, right?
I can do rentals. I'm not interested.
Okay. You just sell houses. Gotcha.
But I can look up if you're looking for something. I can check the MLS and see what's there.
Yeah, because I'm looking right now. That's the thing.
I actually think we might have someone in our office that does it a little bit more. I could sick her on it.
Okay. You think the players like going to spring training?
No,
No.
no.
They're just like, ugh.
I think
They like
Really
getting
is.
out of the house. Honestly, getting away, being with the guys. But they would cut spring training in half.
Yeah.
If they could.
I think the young guys love it.
It's exciting, you know.
Because well, put it this way: if you're a young guy and you're not collecting big money when you're not getting paid, it's not that big of a deal because you're getting your 3 squares in the clubhouse.
Right.
You got a hotel room. It's actually saving you a little. When you're not on the 40-man, spring training probably saves you money.
Yeah. Or if you're Madison Bumgarner and you've been through this 7 million times.
No interest.
Exactly. I don't know. Baseball has always been the sport that I think would be the most fun to be on the bench of an MLB, a professional team on. That makes sense. $15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Minute and a half past the 7 a.m. hour here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us on this final Tuesday of January. Sal Capaccio from Buffalo to join us in a little more than 30 minutes time. Roy Cummings 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan 90 minutes from now. A look ahead to tomorrow. David Sampson, former president of the Marlins, to join us talking about the Hall of Fame vote, which will be revealed later today, and the negotiations, which are finally picking up some steam between the players and the owners. David Sampson to join us in our 7 o'clock hour tomorrow.
You know, David, the movie Animal House, when they're picking on Flounder there in the ROTC, they can't talk to him like that. Only we can talk to him like that.
Right.
There are times in which I feel that way for Philly because he brings up something during a commercial break and he's asking a sincere question of me.
Right.
About my side gig and a little bit of help. And it was an honest, sincere,
Right. It was a real estate question, by the way, for those that don't know.
Yeah.
And Philly is Felipe, our producer.
And I mean, the Twitch chat room just starts unloading on him because they pay attention to everything that is said on this show. Debbie says Philly's looking for a 3-4 bedroom, 2.5 bath overlooking for the Gulf. He has Florida Sports Network money.
Well, in that case,
Guillermo comes over the top with, well, and he needs room for all those girlfriends too. Because we've been giving Philly a hard time about his dating life during the breaks the past couple of days. So I mean,
although, as he has slyly pointed out on a couple of occasions, I did take a woman to the Bucs game.
No, you took a young lady.
Well,
first off,
woman, young lady.
I know, but he keeps going with that woman thing. I think it's going to get him punched.
Well, I think he's trying to be older than he is.
Well, I mean,
it's that awkward stage, from girl boy to woman man thing. It's he's right there. Legally, he's a man.
Right.
He could drink, all right, he can go to war, he can vote, he's a man.
But if he wants a woman, we may have to take him down to Naples and they will chew him up and spit him out.
Right. I mean, he's ready for certain things,
but not everything.
Like producing Miller and Moulton. I don't know about some of those other things.
Exactly.
FSN Radio is how you can text the show. FSN Radio, if you never have before, send it to 21000. And while you're at it, watch us, follow us, subscribe to us. Oh, please follow and or subscribe. It makes my co-host so happy.
It really does.
To the Miller and Moulton Show on twitch.tv.
We've been talking a little Aaron Rodgers. It is our poll question today. Where will Aaron Rodgers be next year? Will he be playing for Green Bay? Will he be playing in the AFC? Or will he retire? New York Post put out an interesting story in which they listed 5 potential places. They had the Miami Dolphins listed as the number 2 destination. I call it hogwash. But this texter, David, says, Sean Payton, Aaron Rodgers to Miami along with Devontae Adams. Keep dreaming.
Here's the problem for Sean Payton, for anyone not named to the New Orleans Saints. He's under contract. You're going to have to trade for him. And, you and I have gone round and round on this before. Like the Bucs gave up a ransom for John Gruden 20 years ago. Hey, they had a parade. Now, tell me it's not worth it. If it's worth it for a player, if you give up a ransom for a player and that player gets you over the top, is there a single fan base in the history of time that has then complained about the price that the team gave up for said player? But usually coaches are acquired and they don't lead teams to the promised land. They may do a good job, but it doesn't often lead in a Super Bowl title. Gruden's the exception. Shula was acquired by the Dolphins all those many years ago from the Colts. They acquired him. Best trade in franchise history.
Correct.
Then and forever.
Right. Unless they traded for Sean Payton and he brought him yet another trophy.
But I'm just asking you. He's under contract for 3 years, which I believe gives the Saints more leverage if Sean Payton really does want out and he doesn't want to go into broadcasting, which is rumored that Fox will pursue him if Troy Aikman were to leave. But let's just say Sean Payton's staying in coaching, but he's going to pull an Aaron Rodgers. He's like, they pretty much run my course here. And by the way, Sean Payton got to New Orleans in 2006. Aaron Rodgers got to Green Bay in 2005. I mean, there's actually some similarities there. They've each won 1 Super Bowl.
One's got a better chance to win a lot more because he can do it a hell of a lot longer.
So what would you give up for a Sean Payton? If you're the Miami Dolphins, would you give up your first-round pick this year?
Yes.
Which, got to admit,
yes.
Right now.
Couldn't do it fast enough, David. It's like pick 30 at best.
Right. 20. I think the best it can be now is 29. So, yeah, it's, the Dolphins' first rounders coming from the Niners, which I will say makes the Trey Lance trade look better. Because there was a point this year. The Niners were 3-5.
Right.
That was a top 10 pick at the midseason poll. And now it's one of the last 4 picks of the draft. But so you'd give up a first rounder.
Yes.
All right. Now, I'm trying to think of places. Sean Payton has a home in Dallas. He's divorced, but his family, I believe, still resides in Dallas. And he has been linked to that job ever since he was an offensive coordinator there under Bill Parcells. And if you were the Dallas Cowboys, would you fire Mike McCarthy and hire Sean Payton?
Yes.
Give up
Did you watch the end of that Cowboy game? I'm just wondering because this was not that hard of a question a month ago. It's incredibly easy today. Now, if I were Sean Payton, I wouldn't want to get traded. I know he worked for the organization. I know he understands it. And I know it's the Cowboys. It would be in my bottom 3rd teams that I would want to coach in the league.
Oh, really?
Yes, because of the guy I'm working for.
I think Sean Payton looks at that roster and says, yeah, I can do great things there. We could be average on defense, and I can go to the Super Bowl. Plus, look at the division I'm in.
All the things you said are incredibly true. It would take more than just what the offense is. How much control do I really have? I don't know if I'd want to work for that guy, David.
Okay, but if you're Dallas, and you're Miami, you're giving up your first round pick for Sean Payton.
Hell yes.
Okay, I'm just asking. Now you got to remember, I mean, the Saints may ask for more.
Oh, I think they would.
I mean, you know, you look
3 years left on the deal. I don't think you can get Sean Payton for a 1.
I mean,
I think it's multiple ones. I'm sorry, David. I cut you off twice. But I think it's multiple ones. It's at least
I think it was 2 1s and 2 2s for Gruden over time. So somewhere between A1 and Gruden. So let's just say it's a 1 and. How about that? We settle kind of in the middle. It's a 1 and a 2, and we can split them up. A 1 now, a 2 the next year. Okay.
done and done.
Okay.
I mean, I can't, for those two franchises, I cannot do it fast enough, David.
You know,
because I do think that Sean Payton going to Dallas would be like a little, not necessarily Parcells going there, but be better than McCarthy from the standpoint that I think he could stand up to both Joneses and get away with doing a little more than other people have been able to do in Dallas.
Now, if you're looking at teams who currently have vacancies, who would maybe completely rechange their thought process as to where they are now, in which you have to think that the Giants and the Bears and the Vikings are all within a week of naming their next coach, either this week or right after the conference championship games. Everybody's going to hire whoever it is they're going to hire. So if it's any of those teams, now also, I would think you need to have a first-round pick in this year's draft. That excludes the Bears. The Saints may just say, sorry, you don't have enough for us.
We never talk about this team, and there's plenty of reasons not to. But if you're the Khan family, wouldn't you be thinking about making this call? And I'm not saying about giving up one over the first overall, but what if I gave them 33 and my 1 next year?
Oh, done.
For who? For if you're New Orleans, you take that right now?
Oh, well, no, I'm saying you said if I'm Khan.
Yeah, no, if I'm Khan, if I offer it, because I don't want to give the first overall pick. I'm not going to give New Orleans the first overall pick. I'm just not going to do it. But I'll give you 33, and I'll give you my 1 next year.
Okay. If they insisted on the first overall pick in this draft, I got to admit I'd do it. If they insisted on it, if I threw 3 picks at them, I threw 33 this year and I threw a 1 and a 3 next year. They looked us dead in the eye and say, you give us number 1 this year and nothing else. You give me number 1, he's yours.
Done.
I'd do it.
I would too.
I would do it. First off, I need a coach. Secondly, I got a franchise quarterback, or at least I think I do. And this guy would seemingly be a pretty good guy to put with him. And 3, I got credibility problems.
No doubt. All the goodwill that in your home area that you got last year, because you did hire Urban. That was the guy everybody wanted you to hire. You got him. You got Trevor. It was a disaster. Urban goes on Dan Dawkins' show yesterday and said it's the worst experiences in his professional career and denied kicking Josh Lambo. But what does Urban do when he talks to the media? He lies. That's who he is. And now they're a laughingstock, even in their own hometown. It's one thing to be a laughingstock in 31 other markets. They're now a laughingstock at home. That's bad.
Here's why I would do it. It sounds, oh man, first overall pick of the draft. But remember, to you, Jacksonville, it ain't a quarterback. You've already got your quarterback. So who is it you're trading away? You're trading away a franchise defensive lineman / offensive tackle. I mean, that's what you're trading away. You're trading away, in theory, the next Tony Boselli or the next great pass rusher. That's supposedly what if it works out great in this draft, that's what you're losing. Even if it's Tony Boselli, who may very well in a few days be told he's a Hall of Famer. Even if it's that. I mean, at this stage of life in the pursuit of happiness with the Jacksonville Jaguars, don't you got to pay that price?
Yes. What do you want? A head coach for your quarterback or an edge rusher? It's all about the quarterback. You've got to take care of that young man. If I'm Jacksonville, I'm on the horn right now with New Orleans. Now, I don't know if Sean Payton would have any interest in coming to Jacksonville.
Well, I think the quarterback might make it more desirable than it's ever been before.
No doubt.
Besides, he just beat the Packers there this year. I mean, he's already had a good experience. By the way, say it's all about the quarterback. I thought it was all about the base. Miller and Moulton.
Oh my God.
Here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
This dude, David Moulton, man, he's a menace. Imagine if Tom Brady stays for another year in Tampa, the Dolphins get Aaron Rodgers, and then the Florida quarterbacks would be Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. We'd have the best state of quarterbacks. See, that would be interesting because
Fingers were going a little too fast for the brain. I put retries instead of retires. Someone
Gotcha.
taught me, so I had to repost it.
Well, we're all trying to retry.
would they be better, just as good, or worse, the Buccaneers, if you replace Tom Brady with Aaron Rodgers?
It'd be worse.
I think so too.
Okay, in this sense, because Aaron's not the leader, Brady is.
Yeah.
I think Brady's keeping that team together right now. That if
Wow.
Brady leaves, that they're going to have to retool and that the leadership's going to kind of move elsewhere. Might have to move more back to Arians.
Like, I think that team, like the players on that team they would do it for Brady. They wouldn't do it for Rodgers.
Now, don't get me wrong. There'd be people that would go to Tampa because now
Oh,
Rodgers is
yeah,
there.
of course.
Like,
But every single person on that roster is all in for Tom Brady.
But Fly Panda, you know what I'm getting at there. That first off, not having a first round pick this year, you'd have to give up your second round of this year and probably your first next year to get Sean Payton. That's number one. Number two, Sean's only going to go work in which he is really comfortable with who the GM is. And he's going to want a little bit of say in the roster. Well, the thing about Sean Payton to Miami, the reason, Dolphin, that it could work is that I don't think Greer is on the most solid of footing right now. And I think Stephen Ross would dictate to Greer, hey, I'm bringing in Sean Payton. And you may not like some of the things that Sean Payton thinks about life and the pursuit of happiness here, but you're just going to have to play ball. If Payton were to see, the reason why I think broadcasting is an option for Payton, it may be the only way he can get away from the Saints.
Jeez.
All right, that since they're going to say, listen, we own your rights for the next 3 years, he goes, yeah, but you can't stop me from leaving coaching and being a broadcaster. And they can't. Well, RCB, we
15
said
seconds.
it yesterday. Look how wide open the NFC is from a quarterback standpoint.
10 seconds.
Can I go down that road?
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
20 minutes past the hour. Sal Capaccio from Buffalo to join us in 15 minutes' time. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Poll question. So, what do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing next year? 3 choices: playing for the Packers, playing somewhere in the AFC, retired. Those are your 3 choices. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, that's the poll question. Vote accordingly. Right now, the AFC out to a strong early lead. You don't think? And, if we had asked this question a week ago, my guess is the vote would have been very different.
I agree.
Everybody was in they're kissing and they're making up and things seem to be going well and they're going to get to another conference title game, maybe a Super Bowl, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Text lines are open, and we are getting several of them. We appreciate you. Text FSN Radio, all one word, to 21,000, like this person did. It's any chance Rodgers can end up in Tennessee, or is Tannehill locked in for next year? He's locked in for next year.
If financially it would be a disaster, it would be worse than what Philly had to take on this year to get rid of Wentz. And remember what Philly did in the process of getting rid of Wentz. They also tore down their roster to a certain degree.
This texter says the Dolphins need to trade for Peyton and turn Tua into Breeze 2.0.
Absolutely, positively, 100%.
What
all
David
in.
said.
All in if I was Miami. Absolutely. His offense, perfect for that quarterback skill set. What was Drew Brees? An accurate passer. Even those in our Twitch chat room who hate Tua. The one thing they'll even acknowledge. He is accurate.
Little Hawaiian breeze.
It's a pretty good line there.
Nice. Well played, young man.
On
Well
South,
played.
a Hawaiian breeze on South Beach.
Listen, the talk yesterday, one of the talking points that everyone had was about, the young quarterbacks in the AFC. Well, where are they in the NFC? And because of it, Mark, I'm wondering, the Texans are on record as saying we're going to trade Deshaun before the draft. And they have to. Okay, even if there's not a lot out there, if they've overplayed their hand and they should have dealt him a year ago. He's $39 million on the cap beginning this year. He was 10 to 15 last year. A big difference. You got to get this rebuild. It's thing to tear it all down in a year and what have you. You got to start building it back up beginning this year. I mean, they're losing fans. They've had empty seats for the first time in their history in the last year at games. Texans got to start getting competitive, and they got to start doing it in 2022. They can't be having a $39 million guy who ain't playing on their roster. So they got to trade him, and they're going to trade him. Even though not a damn thing has changed in the last 10 months with his situation. And who knows if and when it's going to. But don't you think, for as much as the Packers, theoretically, Mark, are going to send Rodgers to the other conference, if you're one of those teams in the NFC, isn't that the young quarterback that you can get your hands on? And in that conference, the power structure could change really quickly.
Yes, 100%. And when you start looking at the draft and what's going to take, if you're Detroit, who desperately needs a quarterback, Jared Goff's not the answer. Everybody knows that. Would you send pick 2 for Deshaun Watson? Because I would do it right now.
You would?
Yeah.
And
yes,
not knowing his future, quite frankly.
Yes. A franchise quarterback who may have to miss 6-8 games. I don't think it's going to be any more than that.
With a sorted, now tawdry resume.
Yep.
In which there's going to be, also you got to remember, they have a female owner. All right. I mean, this may not, I mean, Dan Campbell, if Dan Campbell wants to do this, that
Spielman would be the one doing
but
it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That could be a couple of unpleasant comments. Okay. In which she looks at them and goes, oh, trust me, you-know-what is on the line. And
she may say no. She may flat out, you may be right that this may be the one of the owners that would just simply say, not here.
Not happening. Right. But
because the fan base would be wins. I don't think you'd get the grief there you'd get in other places.
Because they've lost so much for so long. All right.
I mean, right now there are more Ram fans in Detroit than there are in Los Angeles. And I don't think it's close.
There's a fascinating phenomenon going on right now. And we were talking about it before the show, that the only other time off the top of our heads that we can recall this in the last generation or so was when the Bruins traded Ray Bourque to Colorado. And the Bruins were going through, the Bruins had a big 30-year run where they were good and contenders pretty much every year. And then at the end of the 90s into the early 2000s, they had to retool for the first time since there were only 4 teams in the league. And Bourque's near the end. And he's like, I really, like Aaron Rodgers, I really don't want to. And the Bruins said, hey, we want you to win a cup. You did everything to help us win a cup. We didn't get it done. Where do you want to go? And they took a look at the landscape, and Colorado was a great fit. They were knocking on the doorstep. They had won a cup just 3-4 years earlier. So they sent him to Colorado. And the Boston fan, for the year and a half that Ray Bourque was with the Avs, they rooted for the Avs.
And the same thing's going on in Detroit right now. They're rooting for the Rams.
And it's fascinating and I don't know if you've seen the video out there, but, search Twitter, search social media, all the people that are wearing either their Stafford shirts or they've actually.
There you go. They've bought Rams Stafford jerseys.
Think about that.
I mean, there's not a quarterback left in the playoffs that deserves it more than Matthew Stafford.
No, there isn't. And that's why, back to Deshaun Watson to Detroit, if you can convince Mrs. Ford that you can bring him there.
Right.
The fan base will accept it, David.
You think so?
I'm convinced of it.
Would you just have Goff as a backup?
No, you kick his sorry butt to the curb.
Okay, yeah.
He only has 1 year left on his deal also. Now, it would be a cap, hit, but, it would just be the price of doing business.
And you might be able to deal him somewhere to somebody. You might have to give a draft pick with it.
Yeah, you may have to do what the Rams did. We'll take the cap hit, and here's a first rounder.
I don't think you'd have to give a first rounder. You might have to take the cap hit and give a third.
Who knows? Things go in little cycles. The Braves and the Dogs won their championships 2 months apart. The Dogs did just win the national championship. Could their former quarterback
Oh, wow.
win a Super Bowl along with it? I'm a believer in this stuff.
I know you are.
I can buy a good conspiracy theory, and I'm a big believer in the sports gods aligning. And when they align, they go overboard.
But I just thought of that, Francesca. I don't think it would get hassled the way it would in some others.
There's a lot of talk about Carolina.
Played college ball there.
And they need a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They're committed to Sam Darnold contractually for 1 more year. Also, let's be brutally honest. You're Matt Rule and you signed that big 6-7 year deal. Things have not gone well. At least year 2 didn't. A lot of people unhappy with Matt Rule. And Matt Rule's starting to do the Brian Flores thing. He's starting to fire everybody. If you're Matt Rule, you've got final say on personnel. If the owner's willing to sign on board, do you just say, no, listen, I'll take the heat, but if I don't start winning here soon, I'll get paid, but they're going to get rid of me. I need a quarterback. I'm going to go get one. And here's the other thing that you may do. We don't know what Deshaun Watson's playing status is going to be this year. We don't know if he's going to be tied up legally. We don't know if he's going to get suspended by the league at some point. I mean, we all think at some point he's going to get suspended.
He's going to get suspended.
So if you're Carolina, do you just acquire Deshaun Watson? And you know what? I don't know when he's going to play. And if he can't play, we've got Sam Darnold. But eventually he's going to play, and he's going to be our quarterback. And he's under contract for 4 more years. Be a pretty expensive quarterback room. 39 for the one guy, right. 23 for the other. But, hey, it's cost of doing business. So Detroit, Carolina, also look at the divisions. Divisions
Washington
that could be very much in flux. I don't think Washington would do it because of all the
you're
trouble
right.
that they've gotten themselves in.
Yeah, you're right.
I
mean, Snyder wouldn't care.
No, I think Ron Rivera would actually say, I'm not in favor of this.
Philly.
Yeah, well, they would do it. In fact, that was the theme yesterday in Philadelphia. Was they watched this weekend come and go, and they said, really? I mean, Jalen Hurts, great guy and all. Do we really think we're going to accomplish anything taking this route? Remember, they do have 3 first-round picks. All in the teens, but they do have 3 first-round picks. Miller and Moulton, 28 minutes before the hour. Sal Capaccio to talk about the Bills' aftermath next here on the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Cooper Kupp set the all-time single-game playoff yards record for a receiver, and then it was immediately broken by Gabriel Davis? Did I read that correctly?
I had not heard that, but
because Gabriel Davis had like 206 yards. I think I saw something where but I know the touchdowns was a postseason record. I don't know about the yards.
Hey, the 4 touchdowns was a record. I don't think the 201 yards was.
Okay. Also, one more question before I call Sal. How many people do you know that believe that Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback of all time?
None.
Very few.
That's what. That's none or very few.
Very few. Eric Moulds, by the way, holds the record for receiving yards in a playoff game with 240 against the Dolphins.
Nice.
Gabriel Davis, 201 is 9th all time. Moulds, Anthony Carter, T.Y. Hilton, Reggie Wayne, Steve Smith, Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas.
That's what it was. Most in a game since T.Y. Hilton. That's what it was.
Oh, that's not right either.
Focus DT.
Oh, okay, because Hilton did it in 2014. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's
Rest in peace, DT.
I will say Cooper Kupp, by the way, 16th.
There you go. What, he had 184?
Yeah, 183.
Ridiculous.
Are we on iHeart? Did you find it?
I looked for it. 1070.
Yeah.
The zone.
No. I've also never used this app before, but I'm looking for it.
Did you call Sal?
I'm about to.
Tristan Wirfs' birthday was yesterday. The Bucs sent out a happy birthday, Tristan Wirfs. He retweeted it.
All right, Sal's on hold. We got 30 seconds.
That's good.
Yeah, Jake, they haven't changed the logo in anything. In fact, I think the Mighty Muscles still have a logo in the outfield. 10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network on this final Tuesday of January. Roy Cummings to talk about where the Tampa Bay Bucs go from here in 25 minutes time. Pat Kirwan in an hour here on Miller and Moulton. It's a pleasure to talk with Sal Capaccio once again, Bills Radio Network, 550 WGR in Buffalo. Follow Sal on Twitter at Sal Sports. That's Sal Sports. Sal, David, and Mark, again, we thank you for your time. How are you?
Well, it's been a rough, long 36 hours, I guess, in Buffalo. Flew back from Kansas City yesterday. Did my radio show from Kansas City back in Buffalo, and a lot of heartbreak. We're used to it here in Buffalo for many years for a lot of our sports teams, but that's a tough one to take. We're going to be talking about for a long, long, long time here.
There's no doubt. Sal, where in your eyes does it rank in terms of most devastating Bills losses?
Well, it can never top number one, which is wide right, 1990, Scott Norwood missing a field goal. I mean, literally missed a field goal by a few feet to win a Super Bowl. I don't think you could ever top that unless you do something similar. It's probably number two. Could be number three behind home run throwback with the Tennessee Titans and the controversial play that happened in the wild card in 1999. But certainly it's in the top three. It's already been given the moniker of just simply 13 seconds. That's what we're referring it to here in Buffalo. So whether you have the drive, the fumble, wide right, now we have 13 seconds.
Sal, I don't know if yesterday was the day, if it was too soon, and maybe today is going to be the day, but when do you think it turns to anger? Because first off, it's the part of the signs of grieving, but secondly, Sal, I'm angry and I'm not a Bills fan.
Well, it's already there for a lot of people. I heard from a lot of fans yesterday. We've heard from a lot of fans. Social media, obviously, in this day and age is already a place of anger, but you're going to get a lot of that. It's there. I think more than anything, and by the way, we're going to hear from Sean McDermott in 2 hours. He's going to speak to the media. Hopefully we get a few more answers. He's typically not one, if it's something that he feels that he needs to say, hey, I screwed up, he'll say that. But generally, if it's on other coaches or players, they keep that in-house. Sean does not ever throw anybody under the bus. We don't know what exactly happened. More than anything, it's just people are just confused. Like, why did you play the last 13 seconds the way you played it? Like, explain it to us. What was your thinking? Because it doesn't make sense. From the not squibbing the kick, which they should have done. Although I will say, I'll defend him in one area here. If you go to the squib kick, that's fine. I would have squibbed it or pooched it, run some time off. But considering they have Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and Pringle and all those guys, if you want to just eliminate any possibility whatsoever of some weird run back, someone getting out the back gate, you just kick it through the end zone and you trust your defense to play two plays. And that's what they did. And that's okay. It's those two plays that bother me and how much room they gave those guys, especially Kelsey. I just don't understand it. We don't understand it. People are wondering what happened.
We've been talking, Sal, and it may be time as this league is evolving so quickly, rushing four in these situations when the quarterback's got to get out of his hands so quickly. I would think at some point defenses are going to have to change their final minute philosophies. And the Bills may have been guilty of that. This may be basically a case study as to how not to play football at the end of a game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know there's been a lot of talk about how many you rush, and I think so too. I think that the Chiefs had a plan, and what the Chiefs like to do, they already run a lot of screens. They already run a lot of, just get the ball to your playmakers. I think the thing that, here, you knew Mahomes really wasn't going to run. Even if he does, he's going to take time off the clock, that's fine. But you knew they wanted to get the ball to someone like Tyreek Hill. You look at that first play, and the Bills just sagged back, and they gave it to him. One thing you look at, the safeties played so high. I agree with that. I understand, and I agree with it. You have to examine what to do there. To me, it's more on the back end, though. And Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde were playing to not give up a touchdown. Now, I understand that it's in a general sense that it's better to force them to try a long field goal to tie it than it is to give up a touchdown to win it. I totally get it. Like, you don't want to give up Tyreek Hill getting over the top of you. But they were playing so far back that they just easily gave them 40 yards, essentially, on two plays. And then Levi Wallace, if you look on the bottom of your screen, if you will, if you watch it that way, his outside leverage with no inside help. And why do you need to guard the sideline? They had timeouts left. There's no reason to guard the sideline. They could use the whole field. This is, and what is more frustrating about all of this is a good coaching staff with two really good defensive coaches. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying Sean McDermott sucks. He doesn't. He's an excellent head coach. And he is a great defensive head coach. And so is Leslie Frazier. They're the number one defense in the league. This is what is so confusing for us today.
And not to pile on, but they called a timeout before each
Yes.
Chiefs play. So it's going to be difficult. And Sal, I'm with you, by the way. I listened to McDermott's post game afterwards, and obviously you were there. And it was unsatisfactory for me. Just saying it's on me. Yeah, no kidding. It's on you. You're the head coach.
Right.
Yeah, you're damn right it's on you. I'm with you. He needs to do something that I'm sure he doesn't want to do in 2 hours. He needs to explain himself to the paying customers. But one of the things he can't say is there's no way he can sell a miscommunication. I mean, they called a timeout before every snap. They obviously lined up exactly how they wanted to line up.
Yep. Agreed. I said the same thing yesterday. Yeah, no doubt about it. And what was interesting, too, he was asked about the kick, right? So let's go back to that. And I thought his answer was interesting. He said, he was asked, was there a thought of squibbing it, or pooching it? He said, yes, we discussed that. He said, I'll just put it on lack of execution. So now I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. So did you tell Tyler Bass to do it and he didn't do it? Or are you saying he did what we asked, but the execution after that? Like, I'm unclear on that, right? So we need to know that as well. Yeah, this is kind of this. We're still in a spot of we don't know. And the other thing about this is, guys, and I feel bad because Leslie Frazier is a great man. He's a really, really good leader. He's so respected. And I'm telling you that I think that the final 13 seconds of this game probably cost him a head coaching shot again. Because I don't know how it should never take away from his body of work, right? I mean, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, though, if you're a team that needs head coach, the Bears, the Giants, whatever, how do you this week sell to your fan base, we're going to hire the guy that ran the defense that just did this?
There's no doubt. We talked about that yesterday on our show, Sal, and it is tough. And it is, Sal, these are borderline fireable offenses. I mean, there's just no two ways to look at it. I understand the whole body of work and you don't make rash decisions, but with 13 seconds left to not be able to get the horse into the barn, it's damn near criminal, Sal.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think the Bills will have a knee-jerk rash decision. Let's remember, Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott have been here together since 2017. They've had one of the best defenses in the league every year, except for one of those. And then this year they were the top defense in the league. So I do agree. It is something that would normally be, oh my God. I mean, I go back to home run throwback in 1999 and that happening with the Bills and Kevin Dyson and all that stuff and Frank Wycheck, and they did make changes. I mean, Bruce DeHaven was an amazing special teams coach. He lost his job basically because of that play. And then Wade Phillips lost his job. Like these are the kinds of plays and things that happen that do cost men their jobs. I don't think this organization and the way they operate now, that is going to be on the table. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. There could be a scapegoat somewhere down the road. I mean, I know that Terry and Tim Pagula, the owners, they're people who really trust the people that are in charge, but at the same time, they want to win a championship. And I know that everybody in that organization felt this was their best shot. And guys, I agree. Look, I have an 8-year-old son. This morning, I got home and he had a rough day yesterday, man. I feel bad for all the kids that went through that. And my son was almost inconsolable at school apparently yesterday. And, I get home and he's got a note up in his room that says the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I said, who wrote that? He said, I did, because I know if the Bills won, they'd win the Super Bowl. I said, buddy, I agree. I got to know if they would have won. But that's what hurts, guys. Like, they were 13 seconds away. They would have won next week. I mean, I know any given Sunday in the NFL, the Bills were not losing to the Cincinnati Bengals at home in the AFC Championship game next week. That's what makes this one so much more devastating.
Sal Capaccio, Bills Radio Network, 550 WGR in Buffalo. Follow Sal on Twitter at Sal Sports. Well, let's look forward, which I know is difficult to do, but like the
yes,
Chiefs,
please, let's do.
Yeah, like the Chiefs really financially, you look at some of their key players, they've got, it looks like one more year with the current band, and then they're going to have to retool. Now they got number 15 to retool around, but the Bills can keep this band together for a while, can't they?
Oh yeah, they can. They've done a really good job. Brandon Beane, he's been a wizard with, his whole staff from top to bottom, the way they brought in players. I tell you, as I said, I go back a long time with this team and, grew up with this team in the 80s and the Super Bowl years. And right now, guys, this organization, player development is as best I've ever seen. It's as best as it is in the entire league. You look at some of these guys they brought in, middle round draft picks who are now, playing at Pro Bowl levels and getting free agents like Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde that first year, and both of them all pros now. Like, player development in this organization is amazing, and they're rewarding these guys. You know, their core group is locked up. They really only have, if you look down and say, all right, Sal, well, here we go. Who are the big free agents this offseason? They don't really have any, guys. Everybody's like, they can make decisions around the roster. Now, they're going to have to make some decisions. They do have some salary cap things they have to massage, but I would expect Cole Beasley not to be here. He's got a big cap number. Star Latuale, they'll open up some more money, but they are set up for a long time. And obviously the key is Josh Allen. Look at Josh Allen's contract extension doesn't even really kick in for another 2 years. He's actually playing next year on his 5th-year option, which is only $16 million, believe it or not. And even when it kicks in and he's averaging $40 million a year, I'm not exaggerating when I say he's going to be underpaid compared to the rest of the quarterbacks in the league and where contracts are going, what we just saw in the playoffs.
When you go back to the squib kick and the execution, one of the things we've been talking about, it's not that easy to do. Do you think this is a matter of, when you say the execution, that they didn't practice it enough? I mean, is that some of the things you got to find out this morning?
No. I will tell you guys this. One thing everyone should know, like, Sean McDermott is the most detailed coach I've ever been around. I mean, I know people talk about Bill Belichick and all that. Like, Sean McDermott, any situation, scenario, even the one that happened, they may have made bad decisions, but they certainly had talked about what to do, and they were prepared. Like, there's no way, there's nothing that comes across that man is not prepared for, to do, and think about. So I think when he says execution, I think he either means that, well, we wanted Tyler to do it this way, but he did it another way. Maybe he wanted a pooch kick and Tyler got too much of it. I can't imagine he would want a squib kick and Tyler Bass just didn't squib kick it. Can't imagine that. Tyler's pretty detail-oriented kicker, too. He's pretty focused in, young kicker, and does a really good job. I think what he meant is we just didn't execute on the next 2 plays. That's the thing. Again, that's why it's so frustrating. We are not talking about a Rex Ryan coach team here. I mean, I know that sounds funny, right? But if this was a Rex Ryan coach team, I'd say, yeah, they had bad communication. They screwed up. They're not ready for these situations. This is Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott literally has a book that he plans out every single one of his days in 15-minute increments. He is the most detailed person, not even coach, I've ever been around.
Is the leadership on this team strong enough where they can keep it together? Because one of the many, now facts of lore about the Bills' run in the early 90s was obviously the mental and intestinal fortitude that those guys had to just keep climbing the hill time after time after time. Do you think that, like, I used the 03 Red Sox analogy yesterday, Sal, where I think they just had their Grady Little 8th inning moment and couldn't get over the Yankees, but they did next year, and it started a 15-year run. And I think that that's where the Bills are. Do you think that the room can get through this?
Oh, 100%. They are. Look at Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Those guys are tremendous leaders on the defensive side. I think it starts at the top of the building. Brandon Beane, GM, his staff, Sean McDermott. I think when Sean McDermott was hired, somebody in the organization said, I've never been around a person who can, build a team and keep them together like Sean and bring them together. And I think that's really proven true. He really has. This is a very, very tight group. You guys watch some of the press conferences, like the way they talk about each other, things like that. That will happen. There's no doubt. I don't disagree with that. I'll use an analogy. I'll go back to 88, 89. If people remember, it's a long time ago now. The Bills had just had Jim Kelly. Thurman Thomas was a rookie. They were just starting to build. They go to the AFC Championship game in 88, and everybody's like, wow, look at this upstart team. Just like the Bills did last year, go to KC. And then they lost in Cincinnati in 88. And then in 89, they said, okay, we have this great team. And they go to the divisional round and lose an epic game in Cleveland.
Yep.
Just like this team goes to the divisional round and loses an epic game in Kansas City. And the following year, they went back, and then they started to go to 4 straight Super Bowls. So I like your 03 Red Sox analogy. I think I'll compare it same thing to the 88, 89 Bills that are very eerily similar to the last 2 years' Bills.
Sal, thanks for making time for us. We really appreciate it, especially with the events of the last 36 hours. All the best to you, your 8-year-old, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
He's doing a little better today. Thanks, guys.
Good. Sal Capaccio, Bills Radio Network, and Sal said that Sean McDermott will meet with the media in 2 hours. Got some splaining to do.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
And I'm not making light of it either. I mean, I'm
No.
trying to be lighthearted, but it's a public trust, the relationship between a team and its fan base. You got to hold up your end of the deal right here. They want answers. You need to give them.
And it's on me is not an answer. That's a phrase. It's not any rationale, any reasoning, anything what today's fan needs. We're the smartest fans we've ever been. That's the other side of this, David. They know more than they've ever known before. The great eight, Roy Cummings, Pat Kirwan, coming on the other side. Miller and Moulton, thank you so much for listening to the Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, this is a good sign. We're at 100 heading into the 8 o'clock hour. Well, Adam and, to every Chi-Town, I mean, remember, they drafted their guy. I mean, and if they're right, then they're going to have a fourth decade.
So this is how I envision Mark Miller looked like on a daily basis at Michigan State. It's the khaki pants, Michigan
Jeans.
State
I never wore khaki pants.
You wore jeans.
Khaki
Okay.
pants weren't nearly, I'm old. Khaki, Jake from State Farm wasn't even a thing back then. We didn't even have khaki. I mean, khaki pants were dress-up pants for me. I wore them if I was going somewhere nice.
But what about the khaki colored?
Might have had one, mostly jeans. And a lot of ripped jeans back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big holy jeans.
Yeah.
Thought I was really cool. More hair than I have now. Bad mullet.
Who are we talking about $40 million for? Is it Deshaun or Josh Allen?
And okay, and Arch, if you really don't think we have smarter football fans now than ever before, I'd take that argument every day. And you're right. More informed does not mean smarter, but we've never had more access to information. People didn't understand football like this. They just didn't. The masses didn't understand defensive coverage and what every single different pass protection is. I mean, we just have far more knowledgeable fans. And all I'm saying is that when coaches give the same routine answers that they gave 20 years ago, it's not satisfactory anymore.
Every day there's just more and more new ways to break down the game,
Well, Madden was the first to teach us, but I would argue we've been taught a lot more in the last 20 years. I mean, you can go on the internet, you can download game tape for goodness sakes. You can pay to access stuff that there was no way you could have gotten your hands on before unless you were in the building. Yeah. I mean, all 22 and
Oh my God, Lawrence Tynes, stop. Lawrence Tynes tweeted out that Eli's a more qualified Hall of Famer than Aaron Rodgers. I sent John a meme yesterday. I got a thing of it was like the games in order, and it had Vince McMahon's face, like when he's in the ring getting terrorized. And it's just the first game, it just keeps, then he falls out of his chair.
Well, you got to remember, we all have our biases, and Lawrence Tynes, although he did kick the game-winning field goal in overtime of both NFC championship games, but he has 2 rings because of Eli. So he's going to be loyal to Eli. And Eli did go into Lambeau in 2011 and beat who even Aaron Rodgers said was their best team, the 15-1 Packers in 2011. That was a strange day.
Roy's ready. 15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the 8 o'clock hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, Pat Kirwan to join us at the bottom of the hour. Roy Cummings, kind enough to start this great 8 hour with us. He covers the Bucs for pewterpirates.com, pewterpirates.com, and you can follow Roy on Twitter at rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. So, were you surprised? Because we got kind of a hint in your voice on Thursday in which you kind of thought deep down this was coming.
Yeah, look, I haven't liked the matchup between the Bucs and the Rams all year. Going back to the first game, I thought that was the first real test for the Bucs, who at the time were playing, they're playing okay. But I thought the Rams had a little bit more in them. It's funny how I think individual talent in terms of that, the Bucs have the edge. They got the better quarterback. I think they have the better receivers. Still do. When you look at the core as a group, maybe not the better running backs, but even the better defense and maybe the better pass rush. But for whatever reason, I've always just felt that the Rams are just a slightly better team. I don't even think the Rams have the better coach. I think the Bucs have all the better pieces, but for whatever reason, it just seemed like the Rams just had what you needed to beat the Bucs. And it happened the first time around. It was at home for the Rams. I thought maybe the home field would give the Bucs a bit of an advantage here, but I never felt that comfortable about the Bucs in this matchup. And my biggest concern was the secondary, and I think that ended up being part of the problem. And I also think, look, I think you can run on the Bucs. So much is made of the fact that third in the league in rushing defense, and I get that, but that's because teams are spending most of their time trying to throw to catch up against them. So when you score 30 points a game like the Bucs do, you got to put up points to score to beat them, and teams end up usually throwing the ball against them all day, and that kind of skews the numbers a bit. I have not thought that they are a superb run-stopping team. They're a good run-stopping team, but I don't think they really match the number. And I thought that if Cam Akers is healthy and feeling like he can, and Sony Michel is there for a few carries, they could run on the Bucs. And surprised they tried to run up the middle on them. So I thought that was a mistake. But I just never really felt good about this matchup from the beginning.
How surprised were you at just the lackluster start, however? I mean, I get all the points that you're making, Roy, and they're all fantastic points. At the end of the day, I don't think any of us expected the Bucs to start as slowly as they did.
No, you don't. Not in a game like that. I think that the experience they've gained over the last couple of years, obviously dealing with to Tom Brady leading the way, I think they were certainly ready for the game mentally, physically, the whole bit. But I will say this: look, we've seen Tom Brady get off to some slow starts here of late. He got off to a very slow start against the Jets. He got off to a slow start against the Eagles. Didn't seem to be quite, on the right page with some of the receivers. And when that's not working for you, it can be tough. And again, the defense is hurt. It's banged up. I think you can pick apart the secondary. I think the secondary is highly overrated. And I just think that the Bucs are a team that if you can gain a little momentum early, you can carry that for a while. You can ride that wave. We saw the Jets do it. We saw Carolina do it. And those teams shouldn't be doing that against the Buccaneers. We saw, and you saw the Eagles come back and get a little bit of momentum at one point. If a good team like the Rams it develops a little bit of momentum early, you can carry that for a ways against the Bucs because they're not a team that's really going to stop you. They one thing they didn't do this year, particularly, obviously on defense, was they didn't take the ball away very much. And even, this time they were a little bit better at that, obviously. But it was strips. It wasn't necessarily interceptions. Again, those are plays made, but in a couple of cases they were just balls dropped. So that helps, obviously. But they for the most part this year, they haven't been a team that kind of stops you and takes the ball away from you. They'll stop you and hold you to a field goal, but they don't necessarily stop you by taking the ball away, and I think that hurt him too.
He's Roy Cummings, pewterpirates.com, pewterpirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, rcummings, FHCN. You usually don't hear Levante David say much of anything after games, and he throws a quote out there. We had a lot of turmoil going on in our organization, right? The full quote before that, he said, we had some mishaps here and there. Guys bump heads. After the turmoil quote, he said, guys getting injured, guys who were a huge part of our success. What did you make of those three sentences?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know. And I to be honest, what I think he needs in terms of turmoil, and when you look at his reaction to some of the miscues on the defensive side of the ball was, I think they've had some problems in practice with guys coming in and out and knowing their assignments. I think they've had a lot of problems. I think it's shown up in practice with them where guys have missed assignments, blown coverages, and they knew it was an area they had to fix and clean up if they were going to win this game. And lo and behold, they didn't fix it and they didn't get it cleaned up. And I think he had a fear, or maybe several players had a fear that this was going to happen, particularly in the deep secondary, and it did. And I think that's what he's talking about. You look at the injuries, and it keeps guys from being sharp. Sometimes when you're hurt, you're worried about, can I do what I have to do here? And it takes your focus away from what you have to do in terms of assignment. Can I carry out my assignment here? And do I know what my assignment is? Am I sure of what I'm supposed to do on this play? And I think we've seen it before, and it showed again. And you just saw it in bits and spurts here throughout the course of the season. But I just think that with guys coming back, Mike Edwards hadn't played in a while. You get a little rusty, and it's not just rust in terms of, are you running at your fastest? Are you as quick? Are you making turns as quick? Are you back punting as quick? It's rust in terms of, how well do I know the defense? Mental reps when you're hurt are really, really important. And when you're hurt, you've got to be out there and you got to be taking those mental reps. And I think some of the young players on this team in the secondary in particular may have learned a lesson about that in these last couple of games, particularly the last one.
What's the explanation for the zero blitz? I mean, come on. Cooper Kupp's been torching you all day long, so let's make sure we have single coverage on the one time he can't get behind us.
It's how you got there. That you look, when you live with the blitz, you die by the blitz, and this is how they got there. We have celebrated the fact that the Buccaneers blitz, half the time, that they're always sending somebody. And I think Todd Bowles decided this is what nobody's expecting. We're going to put all the pressure on Matthew Stafford. We haven't really pressured him that much today. Let's throw something at him that he hasn't seen, and let's count on our guys in the deep secondary to cover it. And they didn't cover it. So if it works, at worst we're saying, boy, risky play, but it sure as heck worked out. But it didn't work. And again, I think it comes down to guys being a little bit rusty in terms of assignment. It's a risky call to begin with, but hey, you know what? Your head coach's favorite mantra is no risk it, no biscuit. I think that we have celebrated Todd Bowles and the blitz all season long. People have welcomed it because the Bucs used to be a team back in the day, back in the Monty Kiffin days and the Raheem Morris days. They didn't blitz at all. They just stayed back in cover two and said, beat me. But when you blitz, you can get beat long, and they did.
How much do you think Brady is the glue keeping this big core together? Or do you think that whether Tom comes back or not, that, hey, guys came back to repeat and what have you, but now guys are just going to go get paid?
Tom Grady is he's Elsie the cow, Elmer's glue. He's super glue. He's the guy with the hard hat, hanging from the beam. He is the glue. If Tom Brady's not here, this whole thing changes. It all gets blown up and you start all over again. If Tom Brady's not here, I don't see why Rob Gronkowski comes back. I'm not sure that it's not as attractive for other free agents. I think Ndamukong Suh is probably gone. I think Jason Pierre-Paul.
Okay, do you say gone? Do you say gone if Brady's not here, or do you think that, hey, a couple of D linemen in their 30s that they're gone anyway?
I think they may be gone anyway, because I mean, if you wanted to make the argument Jason Pierre-Paul hit the wall this year, I think you can win that argument. Jason Pierre-Paul was a non-factor for most of the season, certainly down the stretch. He wasn't much of a factor. And Ndamukong Suh, a factor at times, but look, we spent more time talking about the guy next to him, Vita Vea, and then Akeem Nunez-Roches in this last game, who played a better game than Ndamukong Suh. Suh had a big strip sack or fumble, a forced fumble. He's had moments for sure, and that's important. But I think you have to move on from those guys simply because, let's face it, they're at that age where injuries are catching up. They're just not as potent, and I think you've got to start finding. You can find as good for probably less money, and you're getting to a point where salary cap could be a problem, depending on who does come back.
Do you think they can keep Godwin, or is he just going to be too expensive, knee injury and all?
No, I think it's imperative. I think you've got to keep him. I think they probably franchise him again.
Wow.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, with the injury, there's going to be a negotiation, and it's probably going to be a prove-it deal. It could be a 1-year, 2-year deal, and they look at it again. He's going to have to go out and prove that he's healthy. And when you do that, you don't have a whole lot of leverage. And in order to make sure that you've got him, you can always use the franchise tag. I mean, who else are you going to use it on? I'm not sure there's anybody else on the group that you look at. Maybe Leonard Fournette, but I'm not using it on Ronald Jones. I'm not using it on Blaine Gabbert. I'm not using it on O.J. Howard. So you look at the group. Who are you going to use it on? They're not afraid to use it. I think it makes sense. You might overpay a little bit, but he's the kind of guy at this stage in his career you overpay for now.
Roy, thanks for your time and your insight. We appreciate you and it. Hope all is well, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Let's do it, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Roy Cummings, pewterpirates.com, pewterpirates.com. Follow him again on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn. Definitely going to be more change than last year. I think everybody but like one came back. They've been working young guys in, and they had a lot of injuries, so a lot of guys got playing time that it was more than what they wanted. But that would be interesting if you decide to move on from Sue and JPP. It'd free up about $18 million if you did it.
And then with Godwin, you may have to franchise him to keep him.
Yeah, I think somebody, and I understand he'll be hurt and maybe won't be 100% in 2022, but somebody out there who maybe is on the rise will make a multi-year investment in which they could live with a less than 100% Godwin in 2022 to have him beyond.
Right, and it's one of the positions that we always see overpaid for in the free agent market when they're there.
Great point. 14 minutes after the hour. Pat Kirwan in 20 minutes here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I don't know if the dirtiest, but he's still up there.
No, he's not the dirtiest player anymore. You're right, though. He's a hell of a pro. He loves Tampa. I wonder if but Sue's never really taken a discount.
Nope.
He maybe shaved just a little bit off to stay in Tampa. A little, like $1 million a year, but not much more than that. I think Sue was making $8 million this year. Sue's going to be a Hall of Fame finalist one day. I don't know if he gets in, but his resume is pretty damn good.
I think that Derrick Henry is unintentionally dirty. He just trucks people. Now you got me thinking, who is the dirtiest player in the NFL?
Yeah, it's so tough to be dirty now. They've outlawed so many hits.
Right. Imagine getting stiff-armed to the ground by Derrick Henry. Probably have neck spasms for the rest of your life.
I will never forget the first almost half of his Heisman Trophy season. He was covering kicks for Alabama.
He was on the defensive end of kicks?
Yeah, he was covering kicks. All right. We did a game at Texas A&M, and Derrick Henry was covering kickoffs as the starting tailback.
Madness.
There were coaches on the staff because we noticed it. Gary said something on the air about, wow, you don't see this every day. And there were coaches on the staff who were like, feel free to point that out to coach if you'd like. We've been pointing it out and he's not listening to us. So once it was pointed out on CBS, he was taking off kickoffs. But we noticed it, and then it was funny. But Nick will play his best players on special teams. And they've gotten hurt, too, in some key spots.
I mean, after the Iron Bowl, I'm sure he'll never make that mistake ever again. But then again, that wasn't really a mistake. That was more of protection for the kicker.
What are you talking about?
The Iron Bowl, the way that it ended, the fact that
Which one? The kick six?
the kick six.
Well, but that didn't have anything to do with playing regulars. Or,
Right. Yeah. That
that's
just had to do
it was
with.
a fluke. I mean, that's.
But also, the guys they had out there was just
Well-
to create a wall.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you've got your blockers out there. You don't have any athletes.
Right.
out there.
Exactly.
I mean, that was the comment that Gary made beforehand. Is that he said, hey, something goes wrong here. You don't have any athletes on the field to do anything with. But he had Julio Jones out there to return a kickoff in the comeback game in 2010, the Iron Bowl. And when Auburn came back and took the 1-point lead, he put Julio out there with 3 minutes to go in a kickoff return. Julio got hurt and didn't play the final series when they needed to score to win.
Did you just say comeback?
Yeah, that's what the game's called back.
That is awesome.
The game is referred in Alabama. They call the game the comeback.
The comeback. Yeah, Nick. Aaron Donald is a little dirty. I won't lie.
He's short too.
Yeah,
So-
but he is.
Oh,
He's the
a
thing
beast.
from Fantastic Four.
Wow. Just scrolling. I got to follow this Fox Sports PR thing. Michigan State played Wisconsin on Friday in basketball.
Right.
Was the second most watched college basketball game in the history of FS1.
Whoa.
Do you care to take a guess how many viewers it had?
10
I thought I
seconds.
saw it, so I'll stay out of it.
800,000.
You're exactly right. 832,000.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan in less than 15 minutes time. Here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Talking a lot of football because that's what we do, because that's what you love. Aaron Rodgers, the focus of our poll question. What do you think he's going to be doing next year? Playing in Green Bay, playing in the AFC, or retired? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton. That's where you go on Twitter to vote. We always appreciate it. Right now, the AFC winning comfortably. I think the vote would have been very different a week ago at this time when, remember, things were going great. They had reconciled. They're all happy. Going to win a championship together. How could he leave after they go to the Super Bowl? Now it's like, what team do you think he'll be playing for? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter. And you can go vote. We're also talking a little bit about the interesting situation involving Sean Payton and how even the owner came out yesterday and said, we have no idea what he's thinking and what he wants to do. He hasn't returned any of our calls either. So that sounds to me like a guy who's either gone on a 2-week bender or, having a midlife crisis, what have you, or a guy who's plotting his exit from a place where he's under contract for 3 more years. We started mentioning teams in which, hey, you'd be willing to give up a first-round pick, maybe if necessary, a little bit more to get Sean Payton. And Mark, you are not somebody who likes to trade for coaches.
No, I don't.
But
there are coaches, and then there are elite coaches, elite minds. And as you're going through all these, Miami and Jacksonville, can we just stay in Florida? They should be in a damn bidding war for Sean Payton right now. Trevor Lawrence and Tua. Now, Trevor had a rough year.
played really well week 18, though. I mean, it's like
No,
the
he did.
golfer. It's like the golfer who birdied 18 to shoot 95.
Why do you have to talk about me like that?
Come on, you're playing a lot better than that.
A little bit. But I resemble that remark. There have been many a bad round that a birdie on 18, and you go, that's why. But he had a rough year. I don't think he learned nearly at the level that he should have learned this year. There's no way we can think that he got all of his out of his rookie year that he should have. If I'm Jacksonville, an edge rusher or Sean Payton?
And we say that because Jacksonville is the number 1 pick of the draft. And obviously the Jags would prefer not to trade that for anyone. But if that is what the Saints are saying, and the Jags are like, no, we'll give you 2 this year, we'll give you 1 later. And they're like, no. You want Sean Payton, who's under contract for 3 more years. You got to give us the first overall pick of the draft. And that is likely to be an edge rusher. So would you sacrifice a 10-12 sack a year defensive end? Pick a Bosa. Let's just say they're as good as one of the Bosa brothers. Would you sacrifice a Bosa for Sean Payton?
Yes.
Okay. I would too.
Yes.
And
it's tough for you. I mean, you really have to back me into a corner to get that answer out of me. But at the end of the day, I don't know how long I'm going to have a Bosa for. They keep getting hurt. Players get injured a lot. Coaches are there every game. And they're there for a lot of years.
Almost sounds like a piece of luggage. What do you got there? I got a Bosa.
I'll tell you what, though. It would be a tough piece of luggage.
Would be.
You know, what was the old Samsonite ads where they used to have
Right.
like the orangutan
Slam
beating the
it,
crap
right.
out of it?
They threw that's what they did. They threw the 2 Samsonites, and again, they just let the apes and just
Just beat the crap out of it. That's what a Bosa would be.
Hey, I got 2 of these.
You can sack this thing and it still doesn't open.
But would you give up a Bosa for Sean Payton? In the Dolphins' case, the Niners have now, this first-round pick that they're getting from San Francisco, it's no better than 29th right now. I mean, I think everybody would do that. One thing to keep in mind, if in fact this is Sean Payton's play, Sean's going to have to be comfortable with the general manager. Either being given more authority than the general manager in some cases, or just it's somebody that he knows and he's like, oh yeah, I could work with him. And this is where Stephen Ross would have to come in and say to Chris Greer, hey, probably not going to like this. Then again, you could have been the guy that I fired. Remember, I chose you. So Sean's going to want a few things. And you may think every now and then he's as difficult as Brian was. I don't know what to tell you. He's won a Super Bowl.
You know, it's almost time for me to put up a supplementary poll question today because I like this Sean Payton question more than I like the Aaron Rodgers question.
All right.
Because our Aaron Rodgers question is, where will he be playing next year? Green Bay, the AFC, or he retires? Because if we just took Green Bay out of it, no one knows. We're guessing when we're saying
Of course we are.
Miami and Pittsburgh and Indianapolis and Denver, Cleveland.
So that's why we just lumped it together.
Because it's not the NFC.
And then there's the other angle, which is, hey, it's now widely been talked about. It was talked about during the broadcast even. We got Mahomes, and we got Allen, and we got Burrow, and we got Herbert. We got these great young quarterbacks. Lamar. For the time being, Deshaun Watson. But the Texans are on record as saying, oh, no, we're trading them before the draft. Well, who's that young quarterback in the NFC? I mean, you and I were talking in the hallway yesterday on our way back from getting a cup of water, in which we said third best quarterback in the NFC right now is Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Well, he's 34.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and obviously
the next two are 38 and 44.
Right. And so there is room for a young quarterback. Is Dak the 4th best quarterback?
Good gracious.
In the NFC. And obviously he's a guy who's in his mid-20s.
Well, Russ.
Okay.
Russ is next.
All right.
Russ is probably 3rd, but he didn't have a 3rd year this year.
He's also 33.
But I mean, most I think would take, Russ or Stafford, I think would be a hell of a debate.
Okay. Stafford's the flavor of the week.
Right.
So there's 3 and 4. Dak 5. Just play it safe and put him at 5. I'm at Kyler Murray.
Matt Ryan.
Wow, that's a lot of faith in a guy who's also pretty
No,
long.
but I mean, but if it is him, he's old
Right.
too.
But also think about, everybody but one that we've just mentioned is in their 30s.
Right.
Or 40s. So clearly it's a conference in which, boy, what if Deshaun Watson got traded to the NFC? Think of all the weak divisions. Think of all the divisions in flux that could change overnight. I mean, look at the NFC South, quite frankly. I mean, listen, I don't think he's retiring, but if Tom retires, game on in the NFC South.
Right. Well, clearly, right now, Deshaun comes to that division. He's the second best quarterback. He goes to the NFC East. He's the best quarterback. He goes to the NFC North. As long as Aaron Rodgers is not in Green Bay, he's the best quarterback.
Right. And
if he goes to the West, he's going to be.
It might be the best quarterback. Right. And that's why I think that while the Packers are going to send Aaron to the AFC, I think someone from the NFC is going to be the one that pulls the trigger on Watson, because they're going to say, yep, it's going to be an awkward 2022. There's no doubt about it. But first off, we have cost certainty with a contract. He's got 4 years left on a deal, and he's in no position to demand a renegotiation. And he's one of the 5 highest paid guys at the position anyway. So we have cost certainty through 2025. And we're getting a young franchise quarterback in his young prime. 2022 is going to be awkward with all the stuff. No doubt about it. But it'll almost all be forgotten as soon as we start winning. Take a look at the guy in Pittsburgh.
There's no doubt. There is no doubt. And is that where Aaron Rodgers will be? Vote on our poll question. Where will we be playing next year? Green Bay in the AFC, or he will retire. Those are our choices, because there weren't enough slots to put every AFC team in there that there might be a possibility for.
Right. 29 minutes before the hour. Pat Kirwan next on Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I don't remember if it was the Fox broadcast or the CBS broadcast, but it was a CBS broadcast that they were mentioning the post game show after, and one of the names they said was Pat Kirwan, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, he works on the.
yeah, I know. I was like, hey, that's my boy.
What a call by Richard Deitch. I didn't remember. He wrote a column way back saying that ESPN and Turner should let Barkley and Vitale do a game together. And now that Dick's done for the year, said it should make it happen when he comes back. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you put Gus, it's someone's Karan Phillips guy follows this Gus Johnson and give me Gus Johnson, Chuck, and Dickie V for a game.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Notable Owens. Oh. Ouch.
That is. Yeah, that was a great video of Robbie Gould. Did you see the video? Gold pregame. The Packers did their introductions coming out of the far corner area and the players, and the Packers lined up diagonally from like the end zone to their bench, and players ran through it. Well, Gold was kicking. So Gold kept kicking. And he was pretty close to the Packers. I mean, like the Packers say we're diagonally from the 15 to the 25. There's Gould with this ball in the 30.
10 seconds, Pat's on hold.
Making his kicks. You know, and he's within 5 yards of him.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Our final 22 minutes for those in Lake City, Port Charlotte, Tampa, St. Pete. Pat Kirwan will fill those minutes with us. He of Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons on NFL Radio and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and a dozen points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. It's, I don't know. Are you recovered yet from the greatest weekend of football? Because that's what it felt like to everybody. That's all people wanted to talk about it was. And I love when guys get on that are old enough to remember lots of games. And I haven't had anyone tell me about a weekend for sure that was better than this past one. And I'm sure you guys feel that way to some degree. But the last thing I said to you the other day was, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if I go 0-4 in these picks. And when I was 0-3, I'm going, oh my God, it's going to happen. And then he bailed me out. You know, but a lot of guys had it wrong. And I think, I'll just leave this here for Friday, I think there's a real good chance you can go 0-2 this week, too.
I don't, because I think Kansas City's going to roll Cincinnati, but we got plenty of time to get to that when the time comes. Pat, take me through the 13 seconds. Take me through everything that Buffalo was going through at the end of that game, from the decision not to squib it, from the decision to essentially think the game was over and not play defense. These are incredibly smart coaches who know what they're doing. What the hell happened?
Well, it started with the kickoff, right? So you kick off into the end zone. That's the last thing you want to do, in my opinion. So the clock doesn't move and it balls at the 25. And whatever you think your chances are, you're at least jogging out on the field if your name's Mahomes going, they gave us the best chance possible with the situation. So, you know, a lot of guys say grub kick. I don't say that. I say kick to the 5-yard line. I used to work the kickers. They're like golfers. They can kick anywhere you want at any distance you want. And I remember warming our kickers up, and I'd say, okay, they don't have a returner. Kick it to the 5-yard line outside the numbers. And they could do it. Kick it to the 4-yard line inside the hash line. They can do it. I would have kicked the ball to the 5-yard line because that forces the return. And a grub kick, they might land up jumping on it and going right down with it and not really creating any advantage. But if you kick it to the 5 and they return it to the 25, you've taken that becomes play one. And then the next play is the last play of the game, and it's too far for a Hail Mary. So by letting it go in the end zone, they gave them what turned out to be 2 play opportunities. So it starts with the kick. And then I got to ask, why would you play zone against Kelsey, who runs the bend-in route, which he's famous for? He releases with some outside pressure at the inside shoulder of the corner, and then that widens the corner, and then all of a sudden he takes it back inside, and he's created enough of a throwing lane that they get it in there. So the kickoff was a mistake, in my opinion, and then playing the way they played in that soft zone thing was ridiculous. You knew they only had to kick the field goal to tie you. So very disappointing, but, you know, it's easy for us to sit on a radio show and do this. In fact, I feel undefeated on a radio show. I know how hard it is when you're out there, but the question is, are there 32 men who run teams that could handle the situation better? No, but there's probably 5 or 6, maybe 10. It was hard to watch the end of that thing if you were cheering for Buffalo. I feel bad for those guys, and they're smart coaches, but that's my critique on the situation.
Well, Pat, I think you're being kind. I don't know how many coaching staffs would have handled those 13 seconds worse, to be honest with you. And they are very smart guys, but they had 13 seconds that until they win the Super Bowl, they are going to regret. Do you have any concerns about the organization going forward? There are some teams in which they have moments in time like this that they never recover from. And then they have some, like the Bills even, in which they just seemingly keep climbing the mountain whenever they're good. Any concerns about the Bills going forward?
No, not really. I think they're in fine shape there. And they're going to be hanging around this battle of these 2 quarterbacks. I think, as I said the other day, I think these 2 guys will meet 5 or 6 times in the next 10 years, whether it's the conference championship game or the divisional round. But this head-to-head matchup is really an epic battle, and I think we can kind of put it in there with some of the great ones that have happened. And I think these guys are there, and you know, Burrow is going to creep into this equation. Herbert probably will. But I think that these coaching staff, especially the Buffalo Bills, aren't going anywhere. Now, doesn't mean that the head coach might assess things. He is to blame, but I don't know that he was the guy calling it. But he's either going to accept all the responsibility like Pete Carroll did on the Super Bowl pass play. And he didn't fire anybody after that. A year after that, there was some turnover. But I would think that they'll settle this down emotionally, and then they'll get back into the fight again.
All right,
By the way, where are you going to turn? People call my show, fire the guy, fire. Who are you talking about hiring? Because you know what? They all disappear when they beg for a hiring, and then when the next guy stinks, you can't get him on the phone again.
No, that's the way that it goes, Pat. It's one of the reasons we've started with whether it's, and we'll probably get into with you in a little bit with the overtime. It's like, okay, if you want to change it, what's your change? Before we start changing for the sake of changing, what are we changing it to, or who are we switching it to? And we've always tried to get that out of folks when we've done this show as well, Pat. I'm with you 100%. Let's move.
I got their phone numbers. I call them back. That's the difference.
Well, how come I'm not surprised? I've seen you operate in public before. That doesn't surprise me one bit, Pat. You like to get the last word in occasionally.
So, haven't heard from you in a week, and I really have some questions to ask you on air. Call in, or I'll start talking to you with you out there to defend yourself. They just say, okay, I'm calling.
What happened to the Bucs in the first half? I mean, the comeback was great, but they were in a position they probably should have never been. What happened to Tampa, or was it just how good the Rams were in the first three quarters of that game?
Well, I do think that we anticipated pressure on Brady. The reason I still picked the Bucs is I thought Brady could manage the pressure. He's managed pressure before, but I didn't feel he could. I think that was a big part of the problem, managing it, and they didn't look like they were able to handle it. I'm just looking at my notes. 5 for 5 Stafford, that side of the ball, but he starts the game 5 for 5, a little still in the red zone, but he was gaining his own confidence that he could throw against these guys, and they weren't really getting to him enough that he couldn't function. Then point 3 for me was pressure on Brady, exclamation point, Aaron Donald and those guys, and that was it as I saw it. They just couldn't get in their own rhythm. And then there were times where Brady kind of surprised me with inaccurate throws, but that's, I think, because he felt it coming. So the Rams, it's easy to like them when you see all the big name guys, but no, who trusted those guys? But now they came together and played pretty well. The first 3 games of the weekend, it was sacks and turnovers. The first 3 games, I stopped recording it because I didn't need to have the exact number, but the number in the first 3 games was 12 turnovers and 23 sacks. I just felt like Brady and the guys never really got rolling the way they had to. I talked to a couple of guys yesterday about it, and they just felt the same way. It was like, I don't think Brady's retiring. I don't think Rodgers is retiring. Get all that stuff out of the way without going into it. Brady's too obsessed with being a football player. He's not going to go out this way. That's my take on him.
Pat, what's going on with the coaching? I'm surprised that if reports are true that Doug Peterson is apparently not a finalist for any job. He did win a Super Bowl. I believe outside of John Gruden, he is the only active coach out there who's won a Super Bowl that's available. There are others that have gone to the game. He actually won it, and he's apparently not a finalist for any job. What's going on?
Yeah, it's strange, especially if you've got a quarterback issue. You're the coach, you're the owner trying to hire a new coach. You've got a quarterback that needs to be developed, and you would think that Doug would be right at the top of the list for this. I do remind my listeners and yours as well, none of these guys that have ever won a Super Bowl won one with the next team. That's not happening. So I think the Super Bowl credential, in a sense, it would be important to me, but I don't think it's important as much as you think to the owners, because people shoot it down all the time. But, here's what I think. I think, and I don't know what the issue is, but when a guy has his credentials and can't get a sniff, I start to think that, there's something floating around out there about him that is damaging him. And it stinks when that happens, because a lot of times no one's going to admit they heard something. This is this, that, or the other thing. And I haven't heard it yet, but when I see a guy with his credential not in this mix, with the kind of guys that are in line for head coaching jobs, you really have to wonder if something out there about Doug. And I hope not. Pretty good coach, good guy, and deserves another chance for sure.
Mark, what I've heard is that the Eagles put the stink on him when they got rid of him, and that basically they told people we don't think he's that bright. I'm not kidding. And now the fact that organizations are buying it is shocking to me. But the Eagles did put the stink on him when they got rid of him.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say it, but that is usually how it happens. Like when you get to the point where you can't get in the door for another job, things have been said about you. And they're being said by other guys. Look, the agents that represent these coaches, now that they're getting down to the final two, the final three, all that nonsense, people are going to leak stuff to take someone out of the equation. And it may not even be true. But if I represent you, David, and I think you might lose this chance to Mark, I call the owner and say, hey, before you go any further, you know about Mark, right?
And trust me, they all do, Pat. That's why I'm stuck here.
That's why we're not finalists for anything,
you
Pat.
right and left, Mark.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
First off, I'll be your agent. There's a reason Miller goes before Moulton on this show. So stop saying that.
Very good. All right, another coach, Sean Payton, has gone MIA, which is leading to all these ideas that he may be somewhere else. David and I would both trade first-round draft picks for Sean Payton. David and I would trade first overall in Jacksonville for Sean Payton right now because Trevor Lawrence is that important to us. What is Sean Payton worth in your estimation on the market if there is actually going to be a trade for a head coach this offseason?
Well, we've been involved with that at the Jets, getting Parcells. Parcells' credentials slightly better than Sean's at the time, but you're absolutely in the first round pick. You're probably in 2 first-round picks. So what is Sean really doing? And he's got 3 scenarios. One is he's tired and needs a rest. And we'll throw that to the side, but it was number 1. Number 2, I spent 1 Super Bowl with him. He was our guest at CBS. It was our game. And Sean and I talked a lot about the world of the media, and he was intrigued by it. I think he thinks of himself someday doing it. I think he also sees that there's a lot of money in it right now if you're the right guy. Look at Tony Romo's deal. And I think there's guys that I won't mention their names that believe they're worth, and I believe they're worth maybe more. So does Sean see this as a mega deal waiting to happen? You got to investigate that as potential scenario 2. But I think scenario 3 is the real one, and that is, I think I'll tell him I'm not playing. I'm going to go home and rest. And then all of a sudden, the Saints might think, well, maybe we should trade him. Let's get what we can for him, get another coach in here. They could hand the job to Dennis Allen on a 2-year deal and take a couple first-round picks. On a team that's always got cap problems, you might want to do that. So did they just put up a for sale sign without saying there's a for sale sign? I think I would bet on scenario 3, and I would give 2 first-round picks.
We have 30 seconds left. Between now and your next appearance on Friday, you think we see a lot of action with GMs and coaches getting hired?
Yeah, this is a week that we'll get a bunch of stuff done because Monday starts the Senior Bowl. And guys that have a staff want to get down there and start looking at players. Guys that don't have a staff have to still hire guys. They don't like hiring at the Senior Bowl. They used to. But the unemployed coaches will be there. And they used to talk right at the rail at practice. That doesn't happen. The head coach will be set up in some private room, and he will invite a couple of guys in and try to get his staff together. So, yeah, I think this is a week. I've gone to a lot of, I think 30 Senior Bowls in a row or something. And it's really, you want to get your head coach in place before the Senior Bowl starts.
He's Pat Kirwan, Tuesdays and Fridays throughout the NFL season. He joins us. You can listen to Pat weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. The show is Moving the Chains, 3 to 7 Eastern, and Pat's also part of CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and many points in between, Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, be well. We're looking forward to Friday already.
By this weekend, they better have both teams get one shot in overtime. It's not going to happen, but I would love it to happen.
Pat Kirwan with the final word here on Miller and Moulton. For those of you in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, hope you enjoyed the show. Bonus hour is next. Miller and Moulton.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I had to read why are we boycotting Pepsi. When I see hashtag boycott Pepsi, I at least need to figure out why. But now we're boycotting Walmart, and I don't know why yet. Let's see. What do you think? Think it's the same reason? Oh, that's why we're boycotting Walmart, because Quebec, they're requiring proof of vaccine for their stores in Quebec. That's why we're boycotting Walmart.
Whoa. There are Walmarts in Quebec? No, I'm just kidding. No, for the future 24-second shot clock Felipe basketball segment up, I would have included the thought that I just thought of right now.
When are we going to see the 70s again? That's all I want to know. It's been like a week.
The weather here is not going to be great.
It's going to rain in 72 today. All right.
And we have 70s today.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have 40 and 41 this weekend.
Overnight lows Sunday and Monday in the 30s.
Oh, my.
I've got 40 and 41, but yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't really warm up till a week from tomorrow. I mean, if you consider a couple of mid-70 days here.
Well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are going to be nice. I mean, 76 is fine.
Well, it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
It's supposed to rain today is what I've got.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
Well, I'm supposed to play golf today, David.
Yeah,
That's thunderstorms. I can't play golf in cold and rain again.
Well,
Be a game time decision. Feel badly. Someone texted me they're playing the Hideout today. That sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck they're playing the Hideout. FGC at home tonight? Or are they at Bellarmine?
No, they're home.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, these are just
It's
honors.
Thursday.
They're okay. You doing it?
No. Nope. I may be done. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with things over there. And right now I'm scheduled to do like 4 or 5 double headers in February in the ASUN playoffs. And if I do them, that's probably going to be it. Just about everything that made them a neat little place is gone, in my opinion.
Lenny. Gonna do a little rabbit hunting, Sonny, this morning?
30 seconds.
Well, Nick, you know what they say. It feels a lot colder once the Packers are eliminated.
That was the Lambeau Field security guard who said that, right?
I thought they were going to promote Terrell Austin, Yinzer, with the Steelers. I thought they were just going to promote from within.
Coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Today is also the day in which we will find out if anyone has been elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. No one was last year. There's a concern that no one will be this year, although those that keep track of these things believe that David Ortiz, in his first year on the ballot, will in fact reach the 75% threshold and be a Hall of Famer. You have any problems with Big Papi in the Hall of Fame?
No. But I have a problem with Bonds not going into the Hall of Fame. I have a big problem with it. And I don't think he gets in today. And I think it's a joke. This Hall of Fame has zero credibility to me. And it's losing it every damn day. And that's my bigger problem. You know, Jeff Payson, I think he writes for The Athletic.
Right, Passon,
sorry.
Right.
Put out a what's at the entrance of the Baseball Hall of Fame. It says how the players are in the hall for, and I quote, their accomplishments in the game. The next paragraph says other areas of the museum are to address the totality of their careers. And the final paragraph says the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's mission is to preserve history, which is what we seek to do throughout the museum. How do you preserve history and you don't have Barry Bonds in the damn Hall of Fame, David?
Well, first off, the people that run the Hall of Fame are different than the people who vote for the Hall of Fame.
But they can fix that.
Oh, yes.
They could fix it in a nanosecond.
Correct.
So they're just as guilty as the damn writers, David. And we keep letting these guys off the hook and blame the writers all the damn time.
Well,
these guys could change it.
The writers should get most of the heat, though. I mean, they are the ones doing the voting. Yes, others can influence it from the commissioner. And I love when Major League Baseball, and especially in Pete Rose's case, for 30 years now, has said, well, you know, we don't do the voting. Right. Okay. Well, you changed the rules so he wouldn't be on the ballot, and you've had an opportunity to change the rules back so that he could, and you haven't done it. So give us a break.
And maybe I'm getting just the fact that I'm getting older. You know, you've raved about Cooperstown. It never was in my thoughts of going. And as, you know, the wife and I start picking places we want to vacation, and I've never really done much in upstate New York, and I know how beautiful it is.
It is. Finger Lakes are gorgeous.
Right. And I'm like, that'd be a fun little summer thing, and then make a trip to Cooperstown. I would like to do that once. But I can tell you, without Barry Bonds in there, it doesn't make it a Hall of Fame. It just doesn't.
Ryan Thibodeau keeps track of Hall of Fame balloting. And he sent out a tweet 20 minutes ago that said net votes gained or lost through 192 ballots, which is less than half the vote. Right now, Todd Helton has gained the most votes compared to his vote totals of a year ago. He's gained 12%, I believe. It could be just 12 votes, but he's plus 12. Clemens and Bonds are basically status quo. And they had to jump from around 60, 61 to get to 75 in order to get in. Scott Rowland is going to have a jump today. All right. Billy Wagner is going to have a jump today. Andrew Jones is going to have a noticeable jump today, according to this. Omar Vizquel is going to lose a lot of his vote because it's come out in the last year that Omar's not a good guy and has mistreated a lot of people, women and children. So, Omar's never going to get in the Hall of Fame from the writers. But Mark, what's interesting to me is how many of the writers, listen, Curt Schilling has gone out of his way to, tell the writers what he thinks of them.
Yes. I wish he wouldn't have.
And so they seem to be taking him up on when he didn't get in last year and he came really close. He got just over 70% of the vote. You need 75. Schilling basically said, well, you guys suck. I don't want you voting me in anyway. I'll take my chances with my peers when it's their turn to vote and take me off your ballot. And apparently he's down a noticeable number of votes in comparison to last year. So what's interesting to me is no momentum for Jeff Kent, which I find surprising. No momentum for Gary Sheffield, which I don't find surprising because he's kind of lumped in with Bonds and Clemens. Also, no momentum, in fact, negative momentum for Andy Pettitte, which for those of you who believe John Lester is a Hall of Famer, the Andy Pettitte vote you should be very interested in. And whether or not there's going to be a strong case made and he starts to garner significant vote totals. Because Lester and Pettitte both have the postseason pedigree in which they help lead teams to multiple championships. Now, Lester's postseason numbers are a little better, but Pettitte has the most wins, the most appearances. He had an epic Game 5, took a shutout into the 9th performance of a 2-2 World Series against the Braves, in which the Yankees won their first of their multiple titles. And he's a Yankee.
Well, that's a big deal.
And he's on the ballot before Lester, and he's got a lot more regular season wins, like 40 of them, more than Lester. So,
and I'm not joking. That Yankee thing helps a ton. It's
right.
like being a Steeler in the NFL.
So if Pettitte's vote total goes down, pay attention, John Lester supporters. But I'm with you about Bonds and Clemens, and there have been times when I've been a moralistic guy. First off, that I've been for Bonds and Clemens getting in the Hall of Fame for a while because, yes, I think they cheated. I think you have to be.
Right. I would bet every dollar that I have that they cheated. I'm convinced of the fact that they did. I've never cared.
Right.
You had at a certain point.
But where I drew the line with Bonds and Clemens was, I believe it's pretty clear the moment that both started cheating. And at that moment in time, if they had never thrown another pitch or taken another swing, they were both Hall of Famers. I mean, Clemens had 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP at the moment then went to Toronto and started cheating. I mean, he was going into the Hall of Fame. He didn't have 200 wins. He had like 191. He was going into the Hall of Fame. 13-year career, 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP. And Bonds was clearly a Hall of Famer when after the summer of 98, he said, this is bull blank. Everybody else getting all this attention. I'm the best player in baseball, me and Griffey. Well, hell, then I'm going to start doing what they're doing. And then his numbers went bat blank crazy. If you stopped his career at that point in time, he had well over 400 homers, well over 400 steals, and he had 3 MVPs.
Right. But the other side of this is, look, I understand that Ortiz positive tests should have never come out.
Correct.
I get it. How many positive tests do we have on Barry Bonds?
Technically?
Yeah.
Publicly known?
Right.
Like he was not one of those that was identified on the 03 test.
Correct.
A-Rod was, Ortiz was.
So how many, again, many positive?
While he played, he never failed to test.
So Ortiz has one more positive test.
Well, but not in the eyes of baseball, he doesn't.
But the writers all know.
Yes, they do.
But they like him.
Yes.
He's a really nice guy.
For the most part, yeah. Yeah. Big
For
Poppy.
the love of God, man. Do your job, writers. 50 years from now, no one's going to give a damn who any of those writers are. But the Hall should have the proper people inside of it, David. It's the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Enough already.
It's a museum, is
Yes.
what it is.
It is a museum.
It's the Museum of Baseball. That's what it says. All right. How can you tell the history? Now, they would argue, well, we can have their artifacts in. I mean, it's like Pete Rose. I mean, I think he's got over 20-something, artifacts in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
As we know from the late, great Burt Sugar, though, those could all be buried at a certain time. And that basement's got stories that you could never even imagine.
Right. And as Adam points out in our Twitch chat room, it's hypocritical of the league to hold the steroid era against the players when they were using it for the league's benefit. Yes, it's an era in time. There was the dead ball era. We didn't allow people of color into the sport until the middle of the 20th century. I mean, the sport has certain eras. Hell, it even had one year when they raised the mound and nobody could hit even 300. It was the year of the pitcher. I mean, the sport has a lot of history to it.
And it's not all great.
No, they've screwed
But
up.
it's a museum, and I just don't see how Barry Bonds, how you have this museum without having a plaque of the guy who's your home run leader in it, whether you like the lead or not.
And this is where, if you're Major League Baseball, I believe I would do it if I was commissioner. I would sit down with the Hall of Fame and say, we have to be on the same page. All right. And Bonds is part of our history. He is our all-time home run leader. All right. And I would try to privately even talk to some of these writers and go, that's pretty embarrassing. I go, it's the equivalent of not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame not having Emmitt Smith. All right, it is. And you could attach whatever scandal you want to Emmitt Smith, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. He's the all-time rushing leader.
Did Bonds get 3,000 hits?
No, 2,900, I believe.
And to me, maybe it's a little bit like LT in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Okay.
He's going to Hall of Fame. He wasn't a good dude.
No.
Not a good
and
dude.
It's still not a good dude. Right.
Yeah.
Might be the best defensive player ever.
But if I needed one guy to get me a play on defense in the history of the game,
I
might choose him.
Yep.
And, Bonds is on the short list of one guy you needed to get you a hit. And not just a home run.
And so I think it's a bad look for baseball. I really do. To me, if you're that bent out of shape about him, don't even have him on the ballot. I mean, if you're going to play God, play God.
Well, and I don't like how writers are allowed to play God on this one. I just don't. I think the Baseball Writers Association is one of the larger frauds in the sports world today. It even rivals the NCAA, David. We just don't care as much about it as we do the NCAA anymore.
Well,
Not on the totality.
That's, by the way, the one thing that I would really change about this first is I would change those that are getting to vote. Okay, because there are an awful lot of people who don't cover baseball anymore who get to vote for the Hall of Fame. And there's an awful lot of people who cover baseball for a living and have for 30 years who do not have a Hall of Fame vote. It's absurd.
That is the very first thing that needs to be changed.
He's a 7-time MVP.
Right. But before he started doing steroids, I believe the number was 3. Should have been 4. They gave the 91 MVP to Pendleton, who had a great year.
Right.
Not as good as Bonds, but he had a great year.
Name me one 3-time MVP not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, there's going to be a few here coming up. I mean, how many did A-Rod win? I think he won at least 2.
Did Murphy just get the back-to-back?
Murphy won back-to-back. He's not in.
A-Rod won 3.
Okay. I mean, trust me, he's not going to be alone. 15 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove, with a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals. The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. How did I not see this story? Oh, wow, that's the ugly. That's bad. Sion played the tuba, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is he now?
New Orleans.
He's a bitter man.
Is he?
He seems like it on social media. All he does is bitch about stuff. He friended me, and I started looking at his stuff. I'm like, wow, okay.
What's he unhappy about?
Just life.
Well, he had a good life going, and he screwed it up. I told you the offer he turned down, right?
Mm-hmm. Hey, did you ever reach out to that guy who's got the guy who wouldn't contact you directly? The football guy, or did you not even bother? The guy that wanted to get, it was Kramer and John Boehner and Antonio. I forwarded you that email.
Yes, I did. I emailed them. Emailed them actually yesterday. Their thing's coming up in like 3 weeks, I think.
By the way, I was going to say it on air, but I don't know if you know this. There's a song by Kanye West called Barry Bonds, and he's basically being his typical narcissistic self. And the chorus of the song is, "Now here's another hit, Barry Bonds."
There's a really strong reason that you use that filter there.
What?
I'm glad that you chose to keep that for the commercial break.
Yeah.
You made a wise
That's
decision.
actually great Twitch material.
Yes, it is, but it's not good show material.
Right.
So you made a wise choice.
Yeah, Kanye West, Barry Bonds.
When we're having fun, come with fun. When we're serious, you did the right thing.
I'm learning.
I don't think Kanye West ever helps any radio show.
No.
Where do you want to go with here?
Realistic is pretty short. We can give up bullshit.
30
The
seconds.
full question, just kind of overview, Pat. If we, I mean,
Talk about the Dolphins head coaching job.
Man, how old is Vince Scully?
I think he's 96.
God, he's a dinosaur.
He's a
15.
legend.
He is a legend. I miss him, honestly.
The guy who replaced him's a decent dude.
Yeah.
I met him.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. All coming up. Our poll question today. Make sure you vote every day. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter. Aaron Rodgers, where's he going to be playing next year? Green Bay, somewhere in the AFC, or he's going to shock everybody and call it a day and go home. I think you and I are in agreement. We see somewhere in the AFC.
absolutely. I love the idea of Pittsburgh. I think Indy's a really sharp spot because you can win quickly there.
Right, which is why it's where I think he's going to end up. I think if the Dolphins were just a little further along, I think that they would have a chance.
They have enough money that it could be a chance because they could bring Adams with them, and then you got Adams and Waddle and Gesicki, and then all of a sudden,
Right.
now you're
Right.
Now you're enticing.
Yeah. Line's a mess, though. And now, obviously, he would help that. He gets rid of the ball quickly and all that, but still, line's a mess.
It is.
That would hurt their chances.
Who are they going to hire as their head coach?
Well, the word was yesterday, Brian Daboll, the Bills offensive coordinator, had a great interview.
And he's between the Giants and the Dolphins by all sources.
Seems to be where he is a finalist.
One name popped out for the Dolphins late here has been the 49ers offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. His name has surfaced as yet another because of his relationship. Apparently has some ties to Tua.
Well, and Dable, of course, was his offensive coordinator for a year at Alabama. And if you believe what has been reported, Dable has great interest in the job because of it. He would like to work with Tua. You would think that would make him one of the finalists right away, because I'm sure there are some guys who are probably not as enamored with Tua. And the owner has clearly stated, and Chris Greer wants it to be this way, that, hey, we're going with this guy, so you need to make it work. Okay. And Dable thinks he can make it work. He should know the personnel pretty well, division, coaching staff and all that. So would Dolph fans be okay with Brian Dable? Once again, not a guy who's been a head coach before.
Well, I think they would like it better. People are freaking out over the idea that Vance Joseph's going to get this job. That's the one of the Dolph fans that I know and kind of pay attention to, whether it's Twitter or other areas. Vance Joseph's the one that seems to get the most complaints. He's
head coach for a year.
Right. He's actually the one guy that they're looking at who has head coaching experience. And it's the one that freaks him out the most. Along Dan Quinn, obviously, he's coached as well.
What I find interesting is that there was a report yesterday. It was only one source that reported it, but they reported that this Packers offensive coordinator was going to get the job. And then everybody kind of backed off and said, no, he's just the first of the 3 finalists. Oh, okay. Because, the word's been out there while the Cowboys were still playing that Dan Quinn in Denver was a marriage. This was happening. Dan had his staff lined up. Denver was all in. Remember, they've got a first-year GM. He didn't hire Vic. He fires him. And the word was, this guy knows exactly who he wants. He's going to hire him. Let's go. And we're going to get Dan a quarterback. I'll let Dan coach him and his staff. I'll go out and get us a quarterback. Look out. Okay. And now all of a sudden you're starting to hear other names. Quinn's a finalist, but you're starting to hear other names.
Okay, but as part of that, actually Quinn saying, well, I don't think you're getting Aaron.
Or is it possible if you were Dan Quinn and seemingly you've been interviewed by everybody who has a job opening, is there a job out there that you want more? When we ranked the jobs, we had Denver pretty damn high.
And you have them higher than I do, and I get all of the reasons why. Every reason is right. I just think my reasons to not take it trump your reasons for it. And my reasons not to take it are Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
I hear you. It's going to be a beast of a division for a long time.
Whereas if I'm looking at Miami, I'm looking at just Buffalo. I'm not looking at 2 of them. I'm looking at 1. And I know Belichick's still there, but come on, they don't have a quarterback. You got to think I can be better than that.
They think they have a quarterback, but I know what you're saying. And also, if you're Miami, you're like, well, we beat them twice. Okay, we're going to overtake them. It's on to Buffalo. Now, the Dolphins have a Buffalo problem, which is another reason why I think Daboll has to interest them. I think they've lost 7 in a row to the Bills. It's the team they got to beat. They got to figure out a way to start beating them. It's why Sunday's also fascinating. Last time the Rams beat the 49ers, 2018. Won 6 in a row.
And so far in these playoffs, the one clear thing that's determined games has been matchups, David. When there's been bad matchups for teams, they haven't been able to overcome them. Green Bay couldn't overcome San Francisco. Neither could Dallas. And the Bucs go down to the Rams again. The irony of having to play these teams who have had your number, well, it just keeps on keeping on.
And that's why can the Rams, for whatever reason, figure out the Niners. Don't factor home field into it because there's a strong likelihood there's going to be as many or more Niners fans as there are Rams fans in SoFi. But the coaching carousel, this is the week. This is make it happen week, Mark. And Pat Kirwan made the very good point 40 minutes ago in which he said, Senior Bowl's next week. You want GMs hired? Staffs go down there en masse. The unemployed coaches all go. This is the week to hire your GMs and your coaches.
Our buddy John McMullen just tweeted out his coaching predictions for the jobs. He doesn't have Quinn with any of them.
Wow.
Not with one of them.
What's he got?
He's got Hackett going to the Broncos.
Right.
He has Gannon going to the Texans.
And by the way, Hackett is Nathaniel Hackett, offense coordinator, Packers.
And the Bears with, is it Eber?
Who was the second one? I'm sorry.
Gannon to the Texans. That's what he has.
Okay.
Leftwich to the Jags. O'Connell to the Vikings.
O'Connell, I believe, is the Rams offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell.
Eberfluss.
Yeah, Colts defensive coordinator
for the Bears. Dabble for the Giants, and Joseph for the Dolphins. The only one he is literally after the Raiders, he has who knows with a question mark.
So he's got Brian Daboll to the Giants. The connection there is they just hired the assistant GM of the Bills, Joe Shane, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And obviously he's been with Daboll for the last 4 years. Big push for Brian Flores in New York as well. He's a native New Yorker. Also, he's an experienced head coach. So no Brian Flores, no Dan Quinn. That's what John McMullen's predicting?
Correct. Okay.
And for that matter, it would be no Doug Peterson, no Jim Caldwell.
Jonathan Gannon is the Eagles defensive coordinator.
Right.
For the Texans.
Very young. Very young, considered a star on the rise, has interviewed for a couple of jobs.
Right. So just to give you a little backup on who some of these guys are. But that's our buddy John McMillan with his guesses on who is going to take over some of these teams.
31 minutes after the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. All coming up. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. We've hit the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, still has huge cash prizes up for grabs.
This week, new customers can get on the game and play free for millions with their first deposit. There are only a few weeks of football left, so draft your squad now.
Playing daily fantasy football simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars, staying under the salary cap, and score enough points to bring home cash.
And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll feel the action of the divisional round like never before.
DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code M&M to play free for millions. That's right. Enter promo code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. Get in the action for the divisional round only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So we got Carl Sheffers. Is it Sheffers, the referee? Am I saying that right?
I think so.
He and Vinovich are doing the conference game. Sheffers had the highest penalty crew, Vinovich the lowest. There was an 81 penalty, 807-yard difference between the two crews.
Which one's doing what?
It doesn't say in this article. Let me see if someone asked who had who.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
It's a Lions fan.
Oh, the Stafford guy?
jersey.
I saw, yeah. Hey.
That is amazing. It really is.
Aaron Rodgers, according to Dave Mason from Bet Online. Denver's the favorite, Pittsburgh second, Miami third, Philly fourth. Arizona's not even on this list.
Wait, what?
Aaron Rodgers, team one next season. It's a bet. Tennessee, that's just insane. He's not going to Tennessee. He's not going to New Orleans either.
So what are the guesses again?
Denver's 2-1. Pitt's 3.5-1. Miami's 5-1. Philly 6-1. Cleveland 8. Vegas 9. Jets 12. It doesn't have everybody, obviously, but he's got Carolina and Tennessee and New Orleans at 14-1. The Giants in Seattle at 16-1. Baltimore 25-1. So obviously they didn't list everybody. But
No Indy?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no Indy on here. 'I did not know that. Do you remember the VJ China on MTV?
Not really.
She was a white. It was Grace Slicks and Paul Cantner of Jefferson Airplane's girl. I never knew that. No wonder they took such good care of that awful, God blessed band.
$20 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the bonus hour here in the 239. We thank you so much for listening. Top of the hour, Sean McDermott's going to meet with the media in Buffalo. He's got a little explaining to do, that whole 13-second thing. And 4 o'clock today, they're supposed to let us know who, if anyone, has been elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. The expectation is it will be David Ortiz alone. that Schilling, Bonds, and Clemens, all in their final year on the ballot, will come up short of the 75% threshold. It is now time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Mark. We're going to go back 203 years, 1819. Thomas Jefferson, one of the who helped found the University of Virginia on this day in Charlottesville. 1877, the Electoral College is formed by Congress to help settle the controversial 1876 presidential election between Rutherford B. Hayes and Sam Tilden.
Didn't work out well for Tilden.
No, it didn't. 4 years later, in 1881, Edison and Alexander Graham Bell formed the Oriental Telephone Company. And then it would be 34 years later, Mark, in 1915, when Bell picks up the phone in New York and calls Watson in San Francisco. 1924, on this date, it was the first Winter Olympics in Chamonix, France. 1945, the Yankees were sold. Care to take a guess? It's a hard one. I mean, going back then, and it
$1 million.
How much?
$1 million?
Oh, just a touch more.
Okay.
That's a really good guess. 2.8 million.
Okay. And Steinbrenner got him for what?
10, I think, in
like 1970 something.
Yeah, 70 or 71.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's remarkable. 1960, Wilt scored 58. I mention it because he was a rookie. It was the most points ever for a rookie in a game. Here's the other interesting factoid. The Philadelphia Warriors played the Detroit Pistons in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
So many neutral site NBA games.
The league had real attendance issues and was playing a lot of regional games. Remember, 2 years later, Wilt scores 100. Where did he score it? Hershey, Pennsylvania. Here, he sets the rookie record for points with 58. He's playing in Bethlehem.
He's big in Pennsylvania.
Well, you could argue he was big anywhere,
There
but
you go. There you go.
Part of why he is held in such lore, it was on this date in 1961, first live, nationally televised presidential news conference. It's why John F. Kennedy really was the president for television. Had the debates, which helped get him elected, and then here he is, people going, wait, what's this? It's a presidential news conference. What? 1964, the Beatles with their first number one, I Want to Hold Your Hand.
You know what that is? It's peppy. Something snappy.
It is. No doubt about it. They were into that for the first couple of years.
Yep.
And it worked. I would have kept producing them too. 1970, the movie MASH was released.
It is such a great movie, and it is so flipping dark. I mean, obviously the television show had its dark moments, but it is amazing how much gorier and darker that is than any part of the television program.
Donald Sutherland.
Elliot Gould.
Yep. 1971, Charles Manson and 3 of his female followers convicted of the Tate LaBianca murders. 1974, Ray Kroc, who at the time was the CEO of McDonald's, buys the Padres. How much do you think the Padres went for in 74?
The Yankees had just gone for 10. The answer should be like 4. And I know it's going to be more than that.
12.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Right.
I don't want to say the stock was down on the Yankees and New York City at the time. Also,
yeah, but it's the Yankees. Still,
right.
Then it was the Yankees. It's amazing what CBS valued the New York Yankees at.
But remember, beginning in 1965, the Yankees started losing.
I gotcha.
And it really, and people stopped going to the games. I mean, there are pictures. It's why their legendary radio announcer got fired. Mel Allen had them pan the crowd at Yankee Stadium. There was like 4,000 people there. And he instructed the camera to pan the crowd, and he got fired. On this date in 1981, a couple of big things happened. First off, it was Super Bowl 15. The Oakland Raiders beat the Philadelphia Eagles 27-10. And earlier on that day, all 52 American hostages who had spent 444 days in captivity returned to the United States. So they were freed from Iran on the 20th, returned home on the 25th. Mark, 35 years ago, the Giants won their first Super Bowl. Super Bowl 21, they beat Elway and the Broncos 39-20. Phil Simms was your MVP. The significance of that was first time the MVP looked into the camera and said, I'm going to Disney World.
Ah, excellent. Nice little tidbit there.
It's either him or Elway. That's who they had tapped on the shoulder. This date in 1991, sometimes you just have to be reminded what a good player he was. Brett Hull scored 2 goals on this date 31 years ago to give him 50 goals in the first 49 games of the season. He was only the third to do the 50 and 50 or less at that time. The other two you may have heard of before. Gretzky and Lemieux.
I was going to say 99-66.
Right. And Mark, finally, on this date in 1998, the Broncos win their first Super Bowl, upsetting the heavily favored Packers. They were a 12.5-point dog in that game. Terrell Davis MVP, Denver 31, Green Bay 24. Pat Bowlen postgame says simply, this one's for John. Mark, Ernie Harwell was born on this date in 1918. Don Maynard, who just passed away a week or so ago, would have been 87 today. Remember hearing about Steve Prefontaine?
Yeah.
The long-distance runner. They still have the track meet out in Eugene, Oregon, I believe it is. Steve, who died when he was 24, was born on this date in 1951. He would have been 71 today. Carl Eller is 80. The pride of Fort Myers. Great college player and a terrific NBA player. Walt Wesley is 77. Happy birthday, Walt. Chris Chelios is 60. Stink. Mark Schlereth is 56.
Chelly could still give you,
listen,
at least 14 minutes a night.
The Rangers could use a third-line veteran defenseman, and I'd call Chelios and say, hey, you got 6 weeks to get in shape. March 1st, let's go.
I mean, he did play in the league at the same age that Tom's playing in the NFL.
Right.
I think Chelly played till 45, 46.
Alicia Keys is 41 today. Patrick Willis is 37. And that, Mark, is today was a day.
Only one omission from me. Etta James, born today in 1938.
Can I add an omission?
Sure.
On this date in 2014, Carmelo Anthony scored the most points in Knicks history, 62 against Charlotte Bobcats.
That'll work. It's not bad.
Only because it's a Knicks thing. Moulton allowed it.
Well, it's also 4 more than Wilt. Okay, if I put Wilt in for 58, I'll be granted he was a rookie.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good today, we go to a senior at Florida Gulf Coast University. And no, it is not you, Felipe. Aim higher. Derek Nangle is our good today because he is playing his tube on Fort Myers Beach, and Fort Myers Beach just keeps trying to shut him down, and he's working every angle to get around the ordinances for signs and street performers and playing his tuba on the beach. And good for you because he gets some tips and he says they help pay for college and that kind of stuff. but he said his favorite memory of all the time going down there is when he played the song Baby Shark on his tuba for a young woman with Down syndrome, and she lit up with joy. He says, the big smile on her face made my day. That's the reason that I do this. Definitely better than any tip I could receive. Good for you, young man. For the bad,
Baby Shark, huh?
hey,
That doesn't sound easy.
says Country Roads is the one everybody likes him to play. Everybody knows the words.
I've met him. He's awesome.
There you go. Is he worthy of the good?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Every FGCU kid knows him.
There you go.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Big man on campus.
See that?
Especially
tuba?
when you got a tuba. Larry Moore, I don't think he's ever been big man on campus. He's been biggest idiot in his home for quite a while because he pulled off a good one. Probably didn't even stop laughing in Dallas County, Missouri, when the deputies fell for his story about testing positive for coronavirus when they showed up to a disturbance at his house and had an outstanding warrant, but they didn't arrest him for the safety of law enforcement. They received a tip that he was lying, and the sheriff spotted him at Sonic downing food. Later that same day, he was arrested and charged with making a terrorist threat. They can really get you if you lie. Finally, the ugly. We go to the gritty streets of Cape Coral and the Waffle House,
Wait, the gritty streets of Cape Coral?
where Martin Jose Alvarez, no relation to Felipe, was arrested last week after causing a disturbance at the Waffle House over the way his bacon was cooked. He was accused of yelling, "You better cook the bacon right." I skipped that middle word there, David, because I'd get kicked off the air.
Damn.
Right. He was upset about how his bacon was delivered. He started shouting racial slurs at the workers and then resisted arrest until he was tased. He is currently in the Lee County Jail. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, January the 25th, 2022.
Come on, Alvarez.
We have 9 games in the NBA. Neither the Magic nor the Heat are playing. The TND double dip. Lakers and Nets at 7:30. Mavs and Warriors at 10 o'clock. LeBron's averaging like 30 a game over his last 20 games. I mean, he really is playing. He's 37.
37.
He's playing very well for a very average team. NHL, 8 games tonight. Panthers in action in Winnipeg, but believe it or not, the headliner will be in Long Island when the Flyers play the Islanders, 2 bad teams, but Keith Yandel, barring something unforeseen in the next 9 hours, will take to the ice, and when he does so, he will play in his 965th consecutive game, and that is the new consecutive games played streak. This is the Ripken streak being broken. Doug Jarvis has held the record of 964 for a while. He took it from Gary Unger, who had it in the 900s himself.
Yeah, and got benched for no real reason and should have had it a lot longer.
Right. And Yandel was going to be benched last year by Joel Quenneville when he was with the Panthers. And the veterans on the team caught wind of it and said, Coach, you can't do this. If he gets hurt, that's one thing, but you cannot DNP CD him.
Number 1 Auburn in action on the road tonight, David. The number 1 team in the land in college basketball. The Auburn Tigers go to Missouri tonight.
Ooh, number 1 going on the road for the first
time they've ever been number 1 in hoop in their history. Number 4 Baylor in actions against K-State tonight. Pretty good college basketball. Duke at home against Clemson. Villanova at home against DePaul. Sparty and Illinois for first place in the Big Ten tonight.
It's
in
the first.
Champaign.
It's also the first of a triple header on the 4-letter network, Mark. Michigan State, Illinois 7, Mississippi State, Kentucky at 9, Arizona, UCLA. That's a really good game at 11.
Well, get a nap if you want to watch it. It's my advice to you, David.
Well, I'm alone this week, me and the dog, and trust me, the dog.
Who naps more when it's just you and the dog?
Oh, the dog. Oh, the dog.
How often do you want to join him for a nap, though? Are you jealous of the dog's nap? Because I'm jealous of the way my dog controls the house.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, dog controls the house and the dog nap. The problem is the dog naps too much during the day. And then when, it's time to go to sleep, the dog's like, I got a little bit of energy. What's on TV? What do you got going on here? Got any snacks? Anything I'd like? So that's what we ran into last night.
Nothing like snacking with a dog.
Right. Then by midnight, dog's ready to go to sleep. I'm like, good. I got to get up in 4 hours. It's great. Miller and Moulton. Great show tomorrow. David Sampson will join us at around 7:30. We'll talk the Hall of Fame and also negotiations. Day 2 today. Players and owners. Apparently, they're taking each other seriously for the first time in like forever.
Thank goodness. And our friend Seth Everett, well, we'll talk a little baseball with him, maybe.
Maybe a question. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for listening to us on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients.